2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The cock's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This are disaster in the making.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it?
Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we come into you live from the Chobe River? It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live, and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to a very, very warm and sunny Sabi Sands. We've got a lot of exciting plans today. Even though we're looking here at Galago Pan, we're actually searching for Tlalamba because she may have been around. So I hope you're as excited as I am and jump on board for your live safari through the African bush. The usual suspects there at Galago Pan, Egyptian geese and a blacksmith lapwing. But like I said, that is not what we're looking for here around Galago Pan. We had lots of alarm calls throughout the day in this direction. It looked like the animal was moving and we think it might be Tlalamba, so that's what we're going to watch out for. My name is Trishana and I've got Theo on camera with me this afternoon. Like I said, very hot, very sunny, 31 degrees Celsius, 88 degrees Fahrenheit, which is why we're going to be looking in all these patches of shade. Baboons were alarming, elephants were screeching, so those are the types of things we want to look for. Elephants, and the reason that those baboons were alarming. But like I said, we are here at Galago Pan, and that brings me to the second stage of my plan. Galago in Shangaan means bush baby. And I was thinking, since we have this extended time into the evening now, we should rather go and look for some bush babies instead of focusing on the chameleons. But of course, if I come across a chameleon, of course I'll love it. But Gallagher Pan has inspired me and reminded me that not chameleons are going to take priority, but bush babies tonight as the evening settles in. Now, do remember your live safari, so use that hashtag WildEarth or @FC on the YouTube chat stream. Or you can head over to our website and you can use our question box. We'd love to hear your questions and your comments. Well, we're going to head on now and keep on going in search of our leopard or whatever else the bush presents to us this wonderful afternoon.
Dumela, good afternoon and welcome to everybody. We have ventured into the east and we have come this side with open arms and open hearts to see what we can find. Good afternoon, my name is Kyle, behind camera is Owen. Thanks very much for joining us here on this very live and interactive safari here on Tswala Kalahari. But what a beautiful scene we have in front of us, and we are going to go east and, like I said, with open arms to see what we can find and unearth for this afternoon's drive. Really beautiful vantage point. One would think after being in the area for nearly 4 years now, it is 4 years, that you would get tired of the scenery. It's not the case here. Just constantly being surprised on the beauty of Tswalu, and obviously the chop and change of that coat from summer to winter is the thing that's constantly stimulating, but then so many other little things just to keep the mind just running on all cylinders. Oh, left here, left. It's got food in its mouth. There's a little black-chested prunier on our left-hand side here, folks, and it's got a food item in its beak. That means it's got a nest somewhere close by. You can see why it has the name black-chested prunier. You can see that beautiful little band across the chest, just above the breast itself. And this is the period that a lot of birds will be, where are you going, where are you going? Show me your nest. He's here directly off our... Okay, I'll keep tabs on him, see where he goes. But yeah, what we'll be doing is looking for anything and everything, like we usually do on Tswalu. It's lovely that we can come out here with open intentions.
Good afternoon and welcome everybody to Anbion and Gala this afternoon in Wild Earth. What we have here is a few holes that have all been dug by elephants. Now, I mean, that's going to be my plan for this afternoon, particularly in the beginning part, is looking for elephants, particularly one. So good afternoon, my name's Daniel Fisher, and on the camera this afternoon we got BK. So as I mentioned, we're looking for elephants. We've just stopped at this little sign. I don't know if you remember, if you were watching the show a couple of days ago when that female was in labor. She continuously was throwing sand on herself, trying to ease the pain and the discomfort. And there was a younger one that was digging in the sand, getting to some roots, and they were making holes just like this. So there are even some remains of roots that are around there, and they'll often put their tusks right into the ground to try and break the roots up. I mean, this isn't so fresh. This might be a couple of days old. You can kind of see some fresh footprints that might even suggest it's from the rain a couple of days ago when it was raining. But nice and soft, particularly when the soil is soft after the rain, they can get down very easily, and they'll use their legs to dig in the ground. I mean, such big feet can do a great job at digging. And they'll loosen the sand and often spray some of that loose sand on their backs, underneath themselves. Often once they've left a watering hole, they'll throw the sand on their backs, kind of creating a mud and forming like a kind of sun cream to protect themselves against the sun. I'm sure they got exactly what they were looking for, particularly because they've dug 3 holes. Sometimes they'll be digging for bulbs and tubes under the ground, and you'll see their sense of smell is so incredible. Elephants will be walking by. I've seen one in particular walking down the road, kind of stop, freeze, reverse, or kind of turn around and walk back another 300 meters or so and dig in exactly the same place in like one specific spot and pull out this huge root. It was amazing. It must have just picked up the smell as it was walking past and used its nose to try and find the exact location of where it was and then dig down and pull it out. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to spend too much time around these holes and these roots. I'm going to start looking for some fresher signs of elephants and see if we can't maybe find a brand new baby elephant or elephant calf that's been born in the past couple of days. I mean, there is a chance that this female is still in labor, but I really hope she's not. We're going to carry on searching for some elephants and anything else interesting. In the meantime, I'm going to send you over to Tristan at Juma.
Well, while Dan searches for anything and everything that is interesting, we've just come across a Franklin that's very upset. It was making its alarm call, which is now stopped. There it is. You hear it? Anyway, before we get into that, my name is Tristan. On camera, I've got Johanna this afternoon. This Franklin is shouting, but I can't see what it's shouting at. It's not in a tree, so it's not a ground-based thing. Maybe there's a snake here somewhere in this little treed area that went into the grass as we came along, got a bit disturbed by us, and thought better to try and hide away somewhere, but definitely nothing that I can see lurking about. There's nothing kind of lying in the grass. Snakes can be notoriously difficult to spot in this kind of area. When you're generally looking for them, you're looking for some sort of shine in amongst the leaves. That's a little bit different to the leaves themselves, but I don't see anything at the moment. All right, well, it was worth a stop and just to double check. We've planned for this afternoon is to head to the east. I'm going to try and see if I can spend some time looking for Sibui and the cubs, Kuchava and the cub, Tandi and the cub, that kind of trifecta. We're going to see if maybe one of the 3 moms is around with one of the little ones. That's going to be the kind of plan for us this afternoon. There was lots of baboons shouting around camp, which maybe is Tlalamba. She was chased by the dogs this morning. And was heading kind of down towards Gallagher. So I know Trish has been checking in that area. Maybe she'll get lucky and she'll find the Tlalamba somewhere there. But yeah, we're going to try and see if we can have some luck on the east with our eastern leopardesses. That's what we can call them. And see if maybe they're going to give us something. It'd be really nice to see Sibui and the 2 brats because they are always awesome when the 3 of them are together, but it's still hot, so I would imagine it'll have to be a little bit later in the day. All right, we're going to carry on. Meantime, let's send you to Kyle, who's looking at a nest.
Knowing Tristan, he cannot stay away from spots for too long. He made the comment, "It's there." Oh, yes. So what a formidable place to build one's nest. Within the mix of all this very, very spiny vegetation, this is a tree referred to as grey camel thorn, or Vachellia hematoxylon. You can see it's part of the same family to the camel thorn, with those beautiful little yellow pom-poms, those little spines as well. And it's bipinnately compound leaves, but what a spot to build a nest. Did it go in, Owen?
Yeah.
Wow. And that was way too easy. So when it comes to finding birds' nests, obviously respect is by far the most important thing, to have respect for the individuals and the nest itself. And birds don't have a great sense of smell, so if I had to go and touch that nest, that bird wouldn't be able to pick up my scent. But some birds can be deterred from the presence of a threat. So being very careful to always keep respect to the highest degree. Obviously, we're not here to alter or disturb or change, we're just here to observe. But what a beautiful little nest. So this pear-shaped nest would have been built by both individuals, so by male and female. And that is typical, that shape is typical of this species. Nice pear-shaped woven material within vegetation, just like that. And I've read up to about 1 meter they would build their nest, and that is almost spot on about 1 meter above the ground. So initially when we saw the bird did have a food item within its beak. So that is a clear indication that inside that little nest there is a baby or two, a little chick. And now as we're both parents, would be very dedicated to bringing this little individual food items at a very, very prominent rate. And that's why the occurrence of insects right now is so important. It hasn't come out yet. So it has gone in there. Obviously, it might be just tending to the chick. And prinias are very distinctive. They've got very long tails in comparison to their bodies. Their bodies are tiny and their tails are almost as long as the body. And behaviorally, you'd see that they enjoy having their tails almost cocked up or held quite high up, almost at a very sharp angle in comparison to the body. And you normally see them in pairs, so pairs or small parties, actually, to be honest. But what a treat to see a nest like that. I mean, the dedication and the skill. Oh, how long would it take the pair to build the nest? I would say a nest of this size, built by both parents or both individuals, I would say anywhere from 10 to 20 days. I mean, their dedication and devotion to making that little structure. And I mean, I don't know how close Owen is there, but look at the detail and how the individual has taken the utmost skill, let's say that, to make sure that that nest is perfectly anchored and secured within that structure. So I would say a nest like this anywhere between 10 and 20 days for both individuals to build this nest, which would be thin little pieces of grass and material that it's woven.
Here's the bird.
Oh, there it's out. Fantastic. Wow.
You still see it?
No, it's gone up to the top right. There's the parent calling. You can hear another individual calling here on the right now.
I don't see it.
No. But a beautiful tree at that. Also a very important tree out here for animals through the winter time, this grey camel thorn, especially things like eland. When vegetation in the winter time drops, especially the grazing value of grass, this is a very important tree that would sustain these larger hooved ungulates through the dry and leaner times. And this tree is actually able to hybridize with that of the camel thorn, which is quite incredible. So it's just gone up to the top right-hand corner there. So it's in that mix, or if it's gone through the back, actually, to be honest. But what a treat. We've got to see it go in the nest and come out. So there's definitely a little baba inside there. Well, we're going to just observe this little bird for a couple of minutes, but let's send you over to Taylor to say good afternoon.
Well, we've got quite an interesting scene going on here this afternoon. Giraffe, zebra, and hippopotamus in the water. It's quite cool. Well, I think that's what the animals would say, seen as though they are standing in the shade. And so are we. My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today, as well, he has been, is Sebastian Romby. There was a not sure when to go, and we're yeah. Dramatic pause was too long. And we, of course, are here at Pridelands, and as you know, it's part of Burley Game Reserve and the Greater Kruger National Park. And welcome to Ndlovu Dam, where there are no elephants this afternoon, but we've got 3 other mammals for you. So, you know, that's quite nice. Obviously, we've got the addition of the hippopotamus, which you have met, which is quite nice that he has still stuck around here. And I hope that he continues to spend a few more weeks with us as the water dries up again. It should provide some interesting sightings. And then, of course, the animals standing in the shade of the apple leaf tree. It's an enormous apple leaf tree. We've got the zebra, one which just did a big yawn, and of course the giraffe. Just the 4 of them. Okay, 2 of each kind. Maybe there's some big rain on the way. You know, Noah's Ark. Maybe the animals are getting ready. I don't know. Yeah, if we only need 1 more hippopotamus, and then I was going to say that's too much to be a coincidence. But anyways, so I don't know where the rest of the giraffe and the zebra are, because there've been quite a few of them hanging around together. But in terms of the giraffe, they didn't really have the greatest social structure in terms of lots of permanent bonding. They just come and go as they please. Lovely lass, are you getting ready to have a drink? She looks like she's licking her lips. She's drooling a bit. I don't blame her. I couldn't think of anything more refreshing than some muddy water infested with elephant, buffalo, and hippo feces, hey? Doesn't that just make you want to go and take a jug, pop a straw in, and have a drink? Maybe a few ice cubes, because I don't think that that's going to be that cold either. No, not yet. Not quite ready just yet this afternoon. But it is really nice to see the sunshine. And I can't wait for the animals to get back to their usual routine of visiting Ndlovu Dam pretty much all day, every day. As with the cold weather, it's been actually quite tricky to try and find some of the favorite animals. Listening, I thought something, but I think it is just an aeroplane in the distance. But there's been other really cool reports, which we will follow up on a little bit later, is that there was a leopard sighted during the day, so we'll definitely go and check around the rocky ridges to see if we can find this individual. But for now, I think we'll probably just spend our afternoon on the banks of Ndlovu Dam and wait for this giraffe to have a drink, because it is quite spectacular to watch giraffe drink water. Maybe you've just tuned in to these live safaris for the first time. How exciting. And you've been wanting to watch a giraffe drink, and you've always wondered, well, now your moment could come true. But we're definitely going to sit here for a little longer and hope that the elephants and the buffalo also come on through, and maybe the hippopotamus will do a yawn too.
When do you ever have the opportunity just to stare at the beautiful clouds? I would like to do that with you folks for a few minutes. Well, for all the kids that are joining us, what did you see in those clouds? Send through your questions or comments through kidsquestions@wildearth.tv, and everybody else, #WildEarth or just at FC. Let me know what you saw there. Bring out the creative side. Let me know.
We are still in our search for Tlalamba. She's taken me through this very exciting drainage before. You can see it's quite rocky in the front here. And there's not lots of parts of Djuma that actually have that kind of rock anymore, that it's exposed. A lot of it is sandy soil, granitic soil. This is basically granite that has not yet eroded to become soil. So she's taken me in here before, and as you can see, it's quite tight and it's difficult to maneuver in here. And she sat, I'll show you where she sat. She sat here, just in the spot. So to get in, just right here. To get in, I had to kind of go around and then finally be able to move this way. And it took all these twists and turns. Hold on, guys, it's bumpy here. I took all these twists and turns, and as soon as I got into position, she looked at me and she got up and moved. That was the first time I realized this is one missioning cat. It was a long, long time ago that she did that. So I'm just checking these areas. So those baboons were alarm calling just to the north of our camp. And we know Tingana is in the area too, but not there. He is much more west of that area, and Tlalamba was walking in that direction towards camp. So bits of shade are where we're looking. Problem is that with a leopard's coat, the shade is exactly the spot they will sit in order not to be seen as well. Ooh. Well, I'm going to keep on looking, but I'm going to send you over to Pete to say hello.
Good afternoon and welcome to Pin and Beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. We were driving along this road and we were just noticing how dry it is, and we found this small little waterhole with two humongous animals inside. Look at these wonderful two hippos just bathing inside, not moving at all. My name is Pete, and behind the camera is Glenn, and welcome to Pinda this afternoon. Very excited to share this afternoon with you. Very, very interesting scene we've got going on here. We haven't seen any water around. It's a really, really dry part of the reserve, and really unusual to see two hippos just relaxing like this in such a little bit of water. We actually drove past this waterhole earlier and didn't see any hippos in here. So that's very odd, because that means these hippos probably moved during the middle of the day from a waterhole probably close by, and came and found rest here. As you know, hippos tend to be more nocturnal, so they would go out and graze and feed in the evenings, and then come and find a little bit of water, usually a little bit more water than this, to spend the daytime in. Yeah, really, really interesting. If you can see, basically, I would say Sure, we've just got a question from Rosalind about the size of Hippo's teeth. So they've got two really, really large teeth at the bottom that come up, and I'd guess around 30 centimeters at the largest. I don't know if you've ever seen a hippo yawn. They often do it in the afternoons, just before they start to get a little bit more mobile or start to move. And the main purpose of these teeth is just for a self-defense, to warn off other predators that might be in the area, but also when they're fighting, those teeth can do a lot of damage. They don't use them for chewing, they really just use them for protecting themselves and fighting. Quite an amazing scene we've got here. If you look just to the left, we've actually got two white rhino keeping a close eye on these hippos. They're a little bit curious, they're a little bit wary. You can see they're just staring right at the hippos and not really wanting to come down and drink. I think they're a little bit cautious. Rhinos don't have the best eyesight, so you can see, if you look carefully, their ears are just moving from side to side. Luckily, the wind is blowing from the hippos right towards the rhinos. So they know where they are, and they know obviously that hippos are a little bit, can tend to be a little bit aggressive, especially if they in their territory, and they'd like to protect this waterhole with as much as possible. If you look carefully on that rhino on the left, you can see almost a straight line halfway up its body. And that's from wallowing. I'm sure they might have even been wallowing here, trying to cool down from this really hot day we have here at Phinda. And these hippos might have come along and actually chased them out, and that's why they're still staring and not wanting to move off. Look, they're trying their luck a little bit, coming a little bit closer, stopping. Look. Well, Madeline, that's a great question. I haven't seen them fight completely, but I have seen a hippo chase a rhino out of the way. Hippos tend to be a little bit bigger, slightly bigger, not a hell of a lot bigger, but quite a bit bigger. And obviously those teeth, they'll open their mouth and shy them off. Look at that smaller rhino on the right, just coming a little bit closer. He's slightly younger. And I'm guessing he might be a little bit like an adolescent teenager, trying his luck, pushing the boundaries a little bit. It's lovely to see. These hippos have really their eyesight's a lot better than the rhinos. They definitely know that the rhinos are there, but they're not caring. They're kind of just keeping right where they are, not even moving, not even batting an eyelid. I'm sure they're actually just fast asleep. Katrina, that's a really good question. So often if you do see hippos in the wild or somewhere else with a deeper waterhole, you might see just their nostrils and their ears sticking out. And that's because their skin is quite sensitive to the sun. So it might bother them a little bit, so you might see them shuffling around, try and get a little bit extra water on them. But the really, really sensitive part on the hippo is actually underneath. If they stand up, you might get to see just underneath their arms and on their stomach, it's a little bit lighter, sometimes almost a pinkish color. And that's the part of their body that's really, really sensitive to the sun rather, sorry. I wish if they turned and looked at us, you might get to see around their eyes as well, slightly pink. So often they'll just submerge their head, wet those eyelids a little bit, wet the nostrils, blow that water out, and then sit back down like this. So we're going to stay here for a little while, see if these rhinos come down and drink, and then later on we might go and check where those lions were earlier this morning. But we're going to send you off to Taylor, who's got a beautiful elephant.
Well, that's quite an interesting scene you got going on, but one of our own. So the giraffe zebra moved on and ended in Ndlovu Dam. But what's quite interesting about this elephant as it slurps up some water is that it's missing quite a big section of its trunk. You'll be able to see now. This young elephant bull is no stranger. We see him quite often around here. And I don't really know what happened to his trunk. We can obviously only suspect that it was probably a snare. I think we were talking about it the other day. The chances of it out here in this particular area being a crocodile quite slim. So I'm going to go with that it was probably a snare a very, very long time ago. We might have seen him the other day very, very quick with some other bulls, but he's on his own this afternoon, but not have trouble drinking. Perhaps he'll have to take a few more trunkfuls to fill his required needs of quite a lot of water that they will drink every single day. But we'll see who else arrives back down at the dam.
Welcome back to And Beyond Ngala, everybody. And now I just drove past this small little watering hole, and I couldn't help but stop and show you this Woodlands Kingfisher. It's perched so beautifully. The light is stunning on it, and it is magnificent. I mean, look at the blue on the back, the blue and the black on the back. Jeez, a bit of a tongue twister, that one. The white in the front, and look closely at its beak. So I don't know if you can see, it's actually two colors. You can see the red on the top, and it's got a very small bottom bill, which is actually black. And I mean, what a beautiful bird. The sound of summertime, I'm sure you've been listening to them all over the place recently. And just sitting at the top of that perch, I mean, it feeds mostly on insects. It's got an incredibly wide diet. And if we just zoom out a little bit, BK, I just want to show you exactly where it's sitting. It's sitting right above a watering hole, a small little watering hole. And I mean, it's got such, as I said, such a wide variety of food that it can take. I wonder if it's not looking for some frogs. Although it doesn't normally eat frogs. I've heard of them eating frogs before, though. Standing up there, maybe it's there to have a bit of a bath, cool itself down a little bit. You often see them in pairs. I wonder where this one's mate is, and they'll mate for life. These Woodlands Kingfishers, and they've only arrived back in the past, when was it, about the 20th of November when I saw my first one, or heard the first one rather. And they come from all the way North Africa, kind of Central Africa during the winter times, and then come down here in the summer times, particularly for food. I mean, the abundance of insects, these little watering holes provide a great home for eggs and insects to hatch from, in which case these Woodlands Kingfishers will start feeding on those. I've even heard of Woodlands Kingfishers feeding on smaller birds, small mammals. They've got a very wide diet. But I mean, I couldn't help but stop and show you this little guy sitting right on the edge of a perch, not shy at all. Often birds can be a tricky one to show because you see it and all of a sudden as you go live, they fly away. This one's been incredibly accommodating and helping us show you all about it. I wonder if it's not going to call for us. That would be amazing. Try and maybe find a mate of it that's around. See how its head's just picked up? That was almost with that gust of wind. I wonder if it wasn't listening to the trees on the other side moving, and because of the wind to kind of pop its head up and have a look if it wasn't anything more serious. Oh, a little ruffle of the feathers. You'll often see them do that just before flight, to try and realign their flight feathers before they take off. Sinak, would kingfishers feed on foam nest frogs? It's a good question. This one specifically, no. They would generally be feeding on mostly insects, although they will feed on fully grown frogs. But there will be some birds that will feed on the tadpoles. But in those foam nests, they're actually just eggs. So once those eggs hatch, those tadpoles will then wriggle around and drop into the water, and then that might start becoming a food source for all sorts of other birds that might be wading through the waters. And then once those tadpoles... Is that a bee or a fly? And once those tadpoles grow into bigger fish, bigger frogs, maybe a kingfisher, specifically other kingfishers that hang around the water holes, such as malachite kingfishers, pied kingfishers, giant kingfishers. But this woodlands kingfisher is a predominantly insect-eating kingfisher. The other insect-eating kingfishers include pygmy kingfishers, grey-headed kingfisher, brown-hooded kingfisher, striped kingfisher. So, it's not, in the name it says kingfisher, but it's actually lots of them are, in fact, insectivorous and feed off of insects. It's quite an exposed watering hole, this as well. A bird of prey may come and try and snap this woodlands kingfisher up. But I'm going to keep going. I'm still on the search for an elephant cow with a brand new baby. In the meantime, I'm going to send you over to Trishala and see what she's got.
I saw the cutest little tracks, so I had to stop and show them to you. In fact, if you can guess what they are, that would be even better. They're these here. They look like train tracks. Can you see them? So those are obviously the feet of the animal that are moving. And there's only about 3.5 centimeters between the little feet. That's tiny. That's very, very, very cute. Now, the first time I saw these tracks, so when I was doing my trading and tracking, the first time I saw tracks like these, I didn't know what they belonged to. And then I was told, well, try and make those tracks in the sand. So I said, okay, I'll try and make these tracks in the sand. If I were this animal, if I were an animal to make that tracks, what would I be doing? So I tried to do it. You can see they're side by side, right? So you'd have to go like that, and then 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 like that. And then I said, okay, well, that kind of ended up with that train-like pushing of sand, and I thought, gosh, what does move like that? And if you guessed a tortoise, you would be correct. This is for a tiny, tiny, tiny leopard tortoise. It's just too gorgeous. Look at that, and its smallest part here, 2 centimeters between those feet. At the widest, 3.5 centimeters between those little feet. That is too cute. You can see that they're a little bit more closely together, and that's obviously because it's a small animal. But apart from that, or this one would have been a very small animal, something like the size of my palm, like that. But it's also a little bit less angled, and you'll find the Speak's hinged tortoise is a little bit more angled and less train railway line-like. Very, very sweet. I could not show that to you. And also, if you can see, it's on top of these massive tracks, elephant tracks. So it gives like a really nice perspective. Here's this tiny animal who's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, like 20 different tracks fit into that one massive one. I think that's amazing. Really cool. I'm looking at a lot of the smaller things today, and there's also a few things, experiment type things I wanted to do as well. So bear with me as we stop and look at those smaller things.
Well, welcome back on board here with myself and Owen at Swalu. And we're busy traveling slowly on this long cut line towards a watering hole. And something just caught Owen's attention. And we backed up. And this difference within this blackthorn got his attention. So I want you folks to focus on this area over here. And you'll see from left to right of screen that on the right-hand side there will be something that looks different. Within a tree obviously has leaves which are uniform throughout the tree itself. And if you look very carefully to the top right-hand side there, you'll see that something is just not looking right. A very amazing plant is utilizing this beautiful little blackthorn. Can anybody guess what it is? Owen's giving us a nice close-up there of it. It's something that grows on something, so what we refer to as an epiphyte. You get epiphytes on the terrestrial basis like this. So a plant attaching itself to another plant, or an organism attaching itself to another organism or plant. You also get them in the marine base as well, epiphytes. But very beautiful and very distinctive. You can see in this area, this is very distinctive. This looks very different in comparison to that. And you can see these little tiny paddle-shaped leaves. This is definitely blackthorn, but this looks totally different. And look at these large leaves in comparison to these tiny little ones. And if we look a bit closer, they aren't open yet, still very early in the season. These are the actual flowers of this plant. These little sections over here. And they look very flamboyant and very attractive. So you'd want somebody to come and maybe nibble on the top part. But this plant is not rooted in the conventional sense. It's rooted into this blackthorn. And if you think about plants like this and strategies that plants have across the globe is quite remarkable. Some plants don't need to be attached into the soil basis. They could find hosts just like this, or they can find cavities where the tree is grown in a form where just enough debris and stuff has settled in there that this plant can detach itself from the terrestrial basis and live in this little, almost say, haven. This is a mistletoe, and a very beautiful plant at that, and very complicated if you think of it. This plant is actually, its roots is embedded into the blackthorn over here. Let me not get caught up. Can you see that part there, Owen? Yeah,
There's the part where the initial, very start of this plant would have taken off, where its tiny little root would have embedded itself into the stem of this blackthorn. And the mistletoe is a parasite. So it is utilizing some form of items from the tree. This would be water. And this would affect a tree down the line if it gets to a massive state, but it won't hinder a tree to a negative sense at this form at which it is now. But very, very beautiful. And you can see there's a massive difference between the leaves. And that's what initially caught Owen's attention, and as well as these beautiful red elongated, almost looks like matchsticks. And this is the common name for this one, is Matchstick Mistletoe. It is part of a very diverse family group. And you find them from here all the way to the eastern part of the country. And the family group is called bird lime. And very, very nice. And this will be the actual flower that would open up. So this part over here on top would actually split. I think this one is just about ready to open up, actually. Look at that. Look at that. So it is just starting to split. I can see the split. So this one's also just about to split. That is the flower actually opening up. And look at that. Unbelievable.
Very, very beautiful.
And if you think about a strategy by utilizing another plant for you to survive, I mean, that is just very creative and very complex. So what would have happened is that when the seed was ready, the seed would be this reddish fruiting body. A bird more than likely would have eaten the seed. And once the seed goes through the digestive tract of this bird, once it defecates the seed out, the seed has quite a sticky coating around it. And more than likely what happened is that bird sat just there and boop, out came the seed. Hello? Out came the seed. And obviously with that sticky coating, that seed would have adhered
to the actual branch, and that's all it needs. From there, the embryotic root would have stemmed itself into the actual branch and then is utilizing water from this beautiful blackthorn, and from there has grown and spanned out into this area over here. But really remarkable form of growth. Some plants don't need to be rooted at all. Some plants just extract all they need from the atmosphere itself. I mean, plants are just so well adapted, and they have had a long time to shape and find these beautiful little niches and nooks and crannies in order to survive, and then also to diversify, which is remarkable. Look at all the new little ones starting over there. These are brand new little flowers for the season. They start now early summer, spring into summer, and then they finish off at the end of summer with all these beautiful little flowers. And that is remarkable in terms of a flower structure. But we're going to leave this beautiful mistletoe and we're going to send you off to Pete with some hippos.
Welcome back to and Beyond Pinder Private Game Reserve. Sounds like Carl's found a DJ there somewhere else in the bush. But Glenn and I were just discussing, talking about the different mechanisms animals have to protect their skin and different glands that they might have. So if you look carefully at that hippo on the left-hand side, you might see it looks like a darker color, almost looks like there are a bunch of flowers on there. And that's actually, it's almost like a sun cream. It's something that they ooze out of their skin to protect their skin. So going back to that question from earlier, they also have that's mainly on the back of their skin. So really, really interesting. We actually thought it was flowers initially because it's very unusual to see that much of it coming out. There's a small shift in the hippo on the right-hand side. But it's amazing. We also, just to the left here, we found there's some rhino dung that two Egyptian geese are just busy pecking away at. If you look very carefully, I'm sure Glenn will zoom in for you. You can see it's white rhino dung. You can just tell by the shape and kind of the breakdown of it. But that Egyptian goose seems to be digging at it at quite a rapid rate. Probably looking for any little seeds or something that the rhino has eaten, potentially even a dung beetle. You can see that Cape glossy starling also in the back there, swishing down and trying to find little insects that might also be attracted to the smell of the dung. There's also a crown lapwing in the background. Let's see if they're interested. Oh, even a hardy-daw. And it's quite amazing. Egyptian geese can be quite territorial as well, so I wouldn't be surprised if that hardy-daw got a little bit too close if those Egyptian geese tried to chase it away. They're both putting their heads down there now. Very, very interesting to see. So that dung looks quite fresh still, so they wouldn't be doing that with an older dung that we got all around here. It would be a fresh dung, because that would have the kind of the seeds that wouldn't be the oldest and the driest, that also attract the most insects. But these two rhinos of ours are still just relaxing here. Yeah, so they're probably just moving off now. They've had enough of this hippo, and they think that they might come back a little bit later, maybe when the hippos are moved off. But Chinchalo sounds like she's got something very interesting for you guys.
So, remember, I told you this morning I found that rough-plated lizard, but it was a bit too fraught or rotten to be able to dissect it, but I did find some tools and some parts that I thought would be interesting for us to look at. So I want to, as I did in biology class, be able to give you a first-hand idea of what an animal feels like, what they could smell like, and and what these parts actually look like. So here we have some of these. I think it's a little bit less gruesome this way, and you don't feel like, you know, the animal is looking at you, anything like that. So the first thing I want to do is talk about the scales and the foot. So you can see this is the back foot, right? You can see the scales are keeled, which means it has ridges. But we'll have a more in-depth look at the scales when you look at the tail just now. For now, I want you to look at the claws. There we go. Now, what are claws and how do they develop? Claws are made out of keratin, right? Much like our own nails and our hair, and we're going to actually burn some in a bit so that we can smell what that's like. I'll try and tell you what it smells like. So this is your nail, right? This is the basic structure of a nail. When it grows into a claw, what happens is that the top layer of the nail grows quicker than the bottom layer, and what ends up happening is this bottom layer is stiffer and it pulls and that layer goes over, so you end up with this hook claw-like shape. And that's what a claw is. It's just a modified nail. Keratin is just an incredible molecule that's made its way through every walk of life and been modified to be able to do what that animal needs. It's really, really amazing. So this is the underside. You can see here that it's not really scales, but they're osteoderms. So what that is when a scale and an osteoderm are two different things, but they often are together. An osteoderm is a calcium deposit that is in the skin. It gives rigidity to the skin. With things like a crocodile, sometimes that can be fused with a scale, but in this case, these are osteoderms there, and these here that are keeled are the scales. So that's the arms and feet right there. Now this was interesting. I did tell you that this animal had died because it had been driven over, so I couldn't actually get a good portion of the head, and they have a really big tympanic membrane, which is how they hear, which is what I wanted to show you, but unfortunately I couldn't. What this is one quadrant of the jaw. Can you see those teeth? I think that's quite cool. How often do we get to see lizards' teeth? Now it's a little bit hard to see, so this is the back of the jaw. That's the front, and at the front here the teeth are slightly more pointed, but it's a little bit difficult to see. The back here more rounded. And these animals are omnivorous. And that's why their teeth show that they're omnivorous. They're not all sharp and they're not all flat. There's a bit of a mixture. And then that brings us to the stomach. This is the stomach contents over here, which shows us that it's omnivorous. It's a little millipede. And here was just an interesting thing because it was a heart. I thought, how often do we get to see the heart of a reptile? There you go. And this is the tail where I wanted to show you fatty deposits. See that yellow? That's really, really thick, heavy, rich fat. And that's in the tail. And that's really interesting to see too. The white is also fat. Now here, I wanted to burn for you because I thought, well, if it's made of the same thing as our hair and nails, then it must smell like burnt hair, right? So then I decided to burn it, and indeed it did. So I wanted to do that for you. And you're going to have to trust me because obviously you can't smell it, but smell safari, guys. Theo? Theo's already got his thing over his It smells like burnt hair. It smells like burnt hair. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Anyway, I just wanted to share those little bits with you, and sometimes half the fun is just figure it out on your own. But thank you for putting up with me and my little mad scientist thing going on, and I'm going to send you over to a lion who has a kill.
Welcome back to Phinda Private and beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, everyone. We've just come across something really, really exciting. Please just be aware for sensitive viewers, it might be quite a gory sighting. This beautiful lioness over here has just caught a piglet, a little warthog piglet. We weren't able to see it, but we just saw her coming out of the long grass with this piglet still actually wriggling its legs and was slightly alive. You can see, if you look carefully, look how her mouth is open. She's panting, her whole body is kind of moving. She seems to be actually licking the piglets at the moment. Might be just cleaning a bit of the blood that might have come out as a result of the punctures from her teeth. Look at how her ears are just pinned backwards. She's getting up now. This lioness actually has 3 sub-adult cubs that we actually saw this morning, and I think she might leave the piglet there. If you look carefully, it's just lying there in the shade. She might try and call her cubs and bring them back to this. She won't even eat it herself, and if you look at her carefully, she's really, really skinny. She could do with a meal, but it's just amazing how they always put the cubs first. It's kind of their mission as life is to get a great success out of their cubs. There's a giraffe in the background, so if you look carefully, I suspect that giraffe's just going to stare at that lion, keep his ears pricked, face straight on. And that'll be a dead giveaway. Often when we're looking for predators, it's a dead giveaway. The giraffes just all stare in one direction, just like this. So whether there's a leopard, a lion, cheetah, they do exactly the same thing. They won't run away. They'll keep dead still. They might even come towards it like that one's doing right now. So I think we're going to get a little bit closer, carry on following her a little bit, and hopefully see her reunite with her 3 sub-adult cubs. Look at those giraffes. They're probably not even 30 meters away. You can see she's walking really, really slowly, really exhausted. Even though it probably wasn't a long chase, I think she's just really tired. It's been a really hot day here at Phinda and beyond. Look at the giraffe. I'm just going to stop up ahead. There's another warthog down there. I wonder if she'll think about getting that. The warthog has no idea that she's there. Let's see if she picks it up. The wind's blowing the wrong direction though. Oh, giraffe are moving. I suspect the warthog will soon run off. She hasn't seen it yet. She might even be a little bit too tired to even put in the effort. This is really, really, really incredible to see. Look how close those giraffes actually are to this lioness. They're not backing down. Even that warthog's coming a little bit closer. Look, they're kind of shielding, almost herding this lioness away. Say, don't come any closer. I suspect that warthog is a little bit confused. Otherwise, he would have probably run off earlier. Let's keep up with her a little bit. She's keeping nice and close to this road. Where we left them this morning was actually right here, not too far away. So I'd suspect as she gets a little bit closer, she might make a high-pitched sound, try and call the cubs. There's a zebra up ahead as well. Jeez. Look how slowly she's walking, still keeping an eye out. She seems to have caught her breath. Yeah, I'm really sorry about that piglet. I'm sure it wouldn't have been a long time that it took for them to kill her, kill the piglet. As it's very, very young, we know that piglets will all kind of being born around this December, November time of the year. Very sad though, always very sad. Look at that zebra now. I wouldn't be surprised if you listen carefully, you might hear quite a nasal snort. So we're going to stick with this lioness, watch her hopefully reunite with the cubs and bring it back towards the piglet, which would be really, really exciting if that does happen. Hopefully we'll see you guys just now.
Wild Earth is launching our brand new Explorer program with an opportunity to win a very special Wild Earth expedition. The lucky winner will get a behind-the-scenes Wild Earth experience at the magnificent and beyond Ngala Tainted Safari Camp. The prize includes a 3-night stay for you and a friend with a chance to sleep out in the unique Ngala treehouse. Become a Wild Earth Explorer and stand a chance to win this and many other prizes. Terms and conditions apply.
My name is Moritz and I come to you live every day from Tswalu, Kalahari here in South Africa. My favorite thing is probably the predators. And as you can see, we're looking at some of them right now. These are the kings of the Kalahari. Spending time with the cats, it's just a privilege. And I love their behavior, you know, the more that you look at them, just the power and the sheer beauty and elegance of them.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Welcome to my car. This is Wendy, and she's my favorite. She would love to have your name engraved on her so you can be with her every single time she goes on a safari here in Djuma. If you become a Wild Earth Explorer, you will have the opportunity to buy an engraved tag which we will attach to her. We will make sure to send you a digital picture to show you exactly where you are sitting on her. You will have front row seat in every single sighting.
Hello, boy. You are a monster. And he's coming right up to us. Hello, boy. Oh, settle down. Settle down. He is very, very close. He's pushing his trunk against the car. You can feel the car moving. Hey, 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 hey. Stop that.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
So we've got a little herd of elephants literally sliding on down to the dam. That's what they did. The young calves are not particularly graceful, but not a big breeding herd at all. I was trying to count how many there are. I don't know, like 6, 7 elephants there? Probably less. Maths was never my strong point. You can ask any one of my teachers. But enjoying themselves nonetheless, and it's peaceful at Ndlovu Dam. No big elephant bulls cause any trouble. So we'll see if they are keen to venture in a little bit further. Some of them are getting excited. Some of the older cows. Come on, ladies. When last did you have swim? I don't know why I'm waiting for a response, like the elephant's actually going to answer. But anyways, I do love the way that they stretch out their trunks, looking for the freshest of fresh water. And if you're lucky, you might even see a terrapin head popping up. Scurry about the elephants. Any little insect that might hurt brits and things like that might disturb. Eddie's going in. There we go. He's heading right on in. Nice thing with elephants is that you just need one to encourage the rest. Seems as though there might be an audio issue, but it's okay on our side. Okay, sorry about that, everybody. Is that elephant even breathing? Oh, there we go. Popped up, plopped right down on her side. Now there's about 3 little elephants in here. I'm hoping that they decide to also go on in. Normally it's quite difficult for them when there's so many elephants at the dam, and it's difficult to have sort of private swimming lessons, especially when you're young, and there's huge waves coming at you, and there's too many bodies in the water. So now would be the perfect time. Best time of my life. If I was an elephant, I'd never leave. I'd only be swimming all day, every day. Oh, good now. telling you about. Not coaxing any of the young ones in, I'm afraid, but we'll sit here for a little bit longer. If any...
Yes, a new one for the list.
Check your mark.
Yes, new one for the list. We've just come into this watering hole, and that bird is very distinctive standing out in the open air. That is a black stork, ladies and gentlemen. And you can see very distinctive, nice, big red bill, uniform dark black head, chest and back, and then that white underbelly with red legs. Wonderful to see. It's only my second one. There's a mongoose on the right there, Owen. Busy following the Egyptian goose. How wonderful. So the distribution of a black stork is widely spread across South Africa. It does have more centralized areas that you would find them in. And on Swallow, this would be my second or maybe third sighting of a black stork. It is an uncommon resident, and is nomadic in that, especially in the non-breeding season. Extremely nomadic. And looking at this bird now, you really have to appreciate it because it is a species that is near threatened. The thing about storks, they're under a lot of pressure because of habitat loss. And if you look at watering areas such as this, if they are negatively impacted, from human activity, that obviously affects the ecology, and that in turn affects the birds. We talk about nest sites that can be affected, large trees being removed, because these guys will make a stick platform, a nest on a stick platform. If my memory serves me correct, I think it's actually on a ledge. They do not make nests on trees, not this species. My apology. I think this makes a nest on a ledge. Doing a little bit of preening, but what an amazing sight. Did not expect that. So just with the abundant water around in the area, these birds will range out further from their normal areas of operation. But just such a beautiful scene at this watering hole. It's very full, this watering hole. If we would go back a month and a half, this watering hole was down to maybe a 5x5 little patch of water. So this watering hole being very important for this bird, because this bird feeds on various... Whoa. Bird nearly hit me. Various animals, from fish, frogs, tadpoles, and even insects within and around this body of water this bird would consume, and using that very long beak as a very efficient tool by basically lunging forward and grabbing a prey item. See the mongoose on the left there, Owen? Yeah. Little yellow mongoose just to the left of that bird. Sneaky like a mongoose. They are such cunning little animals. I have a lot of respect for a mongoose. Very resilient, very broad habitat tolerance. You find this little species quite widely distributed across South Africa. Wonderful, wow. Can hear all the ring-necked doves calling around us. Oh, okay, well, we're going to enjoy this black stork for a little while longer, but we're going to send you off to Pete and some lions. Welcome back to and Beyond Pindar Private Game Reserve. We are still with this lioness who's slowly moving through this grass. She's come really close to where we think she's left the cubs. If you look just up ahead where that fever tree is, that yellowish tree, we think that's close to where she left the cubs, but we could be wrong. That's where we saw her this morning. So we're hoping that soon enough she will start calling. Just a light call, not to alert any other predators in the area that she's trying to call them, but a loud enough call that they hear her. The wind is quite strong today, so the sound will carry a little bit further. It's incredible to see those strong forearms, that front shoulder. Look at those muscles, look at that definition. Really, really outstanding. Look, as well as she's walking, her tail's just lifted above the ground, not dragging through the ground as to get dirty, but just high enough that if cubs had to follow behind her, they'd be able to see that beautiful little black spot and follow, especially when they're walking through long grass or a thick area. It really, really is helpful, and that black color stands out quite a lot. If you look behind her ears, she has also that black coloration, which is really outstanding if you compare it to any of the other colors in the natural environment where we are. If you look underneath her belly, you can see it's quite flat. You can tell that she hasn't suckled in a while. No cubs have been suckling from her, and hopefully if we do come across those young adolescents, we might get to see her calling now. Let's see, she's scanning. She might even just try and be remembering where she's left them. But I'm pretty sure she knows exactly where she's left them, just scanning her surroundings for any other potential predators or any other potential prey. I'm sure she's quite tired, so I think even if she came across something right now, she wouldn't go for it. So if you look carefully, just beyond her, there's a bit of a drainage line or a dry riverbed. And that is a typical kind of area where she would leave some younger animals. Glenn, I'm just going to go around a little bit because there's a road down here and she'll walk right past us. Just going to pick up the pace a little bit so she has a nice little walk past. And well done, that's correct. She is part of the Biola Pride, and we're in an area called Zuka West at the moment. That's beautiful, and very close to Biola where her territory mainly is. But if you look carefully now, she's just walking along a game trail. Might stop and try and call now. That's really, really nice light. Look how she's panting like that. She's really exhausted. She's probably walked close to 700 meters now, and it's just taken it all out of her, including that. Oh, there they come. There they come. Listen to that. Let's see her. They're going to run up against her. Say, thanks, Mom. There should be 3. Look at them greeting each other, showing a lot of affection. A lot of excitement in camp today with Mom bringing some food back. Now she should lead them straight back towards where she left that carcass. The one isn't quite as excited as the others, but I'm sure as he gets closer, he'll show the same affection. What an unbelievable sighting. A lot of love and a lot of bonding, and that's what makes lions so incredibly special, is that sense of community, that kind of bond that they have. Look how their tails all flicking in the air. That's always a show of excitement. Look at them
So we're going to loop back around quickly, back to that same road we just came from. Alright, so we're going to carry on with these lions, and hopefully they'll go straight back towards that piglet, and hopefully it wouldn't take as long as the mom took to find them. But I heard that Dan has some amazing eagles in a tree. I'm sure that'll be fascinating. Enjoy.
Good afternoon and welcome back to And Beyond Ngala. And what we've got here is a pair of tawny eagles. The one on the right doing a little bit of a stretch at the moment. Have a look how the colours. Oh, there it goes. One off. That was a juvenile one, a little bit lighter than the one in the top of the tree. I'm sure this is the adult or the parent of that one. It wasn't a very young tawny eagle. I mean, it should start to get a little bit darker with age. I mean, normally around 4 or 5 years old, reaching full maturity and then leaving the adults. But have a look at this one. I mean, look at the size of that bill or beak. Huge beak used for tearing at flesh. I mean, an incredibly good hunter. So often scavenging from carcasses, looking around. I wonder if this bird's not going to fly and join the other one. And it wasn't because of us. We actually parked quite close here and spent a bit of time with them, and they've seemed to enjoy, well, not maybe enjoy, but not really realize our presence. I mean, look at them at the top of this dead tree. A real good vantage point to have a look around for food. Maybe some small mammals that are running around on the ground below. Maybe some dwarf mongoose that are running around. Some squirrels. See how that head can turn almost all the way around. Its body is facing us, but it can still look 180 degrees behind it. It's a fierce-looking bird, this. I mean, even that silhouette at the back, that hook on the edge of the bill, is prominent. Perfect for ripping up flesh and getting in between bones, like ribs in a carcass. You'll see those are kind of parts that lions can't really get to, or even a leopard might not be able to get to in between the ribs, but that sharp, pointy beak will be able to hook in there and pull that meat from underneath or from between those bones. Just keeping a real good lookout, eh? I wonder, oh, even moving its head from side to side. I wonder if it didn't see something from where it was, and then try and move your head to try and see if you can get a better view of it and try and work out exactly what it is that it's looking at. Quite a big bird. I mean, very difficult to tell the male and the female. The female is quite a lot larger and often darker with a couple more streaks in the front. So I wonder if this isn't the female that's in the tree. Keeping a real good lookout. I mean, pity that the young one flew off, but amazing to see the color difference in the two. Magnificent bird. I mean, one of the bigger eagles that we have around all year round as well. And there's a few other ones that can be quite tricky, or that can be misidentified with this tawny eagle. And it's a little bit tricky here. I don't know if you can see on its face. There's that yellow, what we call a sear, on its at the back of its beak, which extends past its eye. But often people are confusing this between a steppe eagle. Steppe eagle's quite a lot bigger than this, and a lesser spotted eagle. But this is definitely a tawny eagle. And that other, the juvenile that was at the top of the tree, confirmed that as well. And the fact that the two of them were together like that. I wonder if they're not also waiting. Over the past few days, we've been watching a few alate eruptions, those termites. I wonder if they're not waiting for maybe a termite mound to erupt around here, and they'll go and spend a lot of time on the ground feeding off of those termites. Particularly if there's no prey around, that's an easy meal and a really good source of protein. So, Matthew, what snakes will this bird hunt for? I mean, it's got an incredibly wide variety of food that it may hunt for. And it may go for all sorts of reptiles, including smaller snakes, maybe a yellow-bellied sand snake, maybe some blind snakes. Snakes aren't a huge part of its diet. It would prefer to be hunting smaller mammals and even kind of scavenging around. But I mean, and as I was saying, termites as well. At this time of the year, they really do enjoy the termites. It's an easy, abundant food source. And from the top of the tree there, if a snake did kind of slither past, or a lizard, or even a chameleon, it'll come down and pick it up. It'll particularly avoid the venomous snakes just because there's a chance of that snake lifting up and biting it, in which case it will very likely die. But yeah, I mean, it's a super opportunistic bird, particularly this one with a huge variety in food that it may feed on. So if it did get a chance to pick up maybe a small snake, it would definitely take the chance. Maybe even a scrub hare. There's rabbits essentially in the evening. It looks like a rabbit, but it's called a scrub hare. Look at the feathers blowing in the wind. It is a bit of a blustery afternoon. And I wonder if this wind kind of isn't making it a bit easier. I'm sure it'll take off into the wind, kind of jump off, particularly in that perch where there's not many leaves or branches that are in the way. It'll be easy for it to kind of just jump off and glide up using the wind to get lift. Quite a majestic bird right at the top of the tree, really dominating. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to let this tawny eagle continue looking for food this afternoon. It may even spend the whole afternoon into tomorrow here. I wonder if it hasn't got a nest around. Keep going, looking for anything else interesting. In the meantime, I'll send you to another live location.
All right, so just come across this. Oh, there's a millipede. There's a millipede on the right-hand side. You see it, Darren?
Check your mark.
There's a millipede on the right. You see it there? Oh, welcome back, folks. Welcome back. It's quite a scene we got going here. We have just decided to stop and appreciate the work by these tiny little ants. And if you think about the ecological role that ants play within... Oh, you're on the millipede. Oh. Wow. Can see those antennae moving vigorously to obviously determine direction, picking up all little chemical clues, but look how those legs are moving, almost like a Mexican wave. Scurrying it up. Moving it fairly quickly. 2 pairs of legs per segment. And if you look at these insects, they've remained unchanged for millions of years. They would have been one of the very first... Wow, look at that. One of the very first organisms to emerge from that of the oceans. And such an efficient body plan that it has remained unchanged. Another radio. Alrighty. So what initially got our attention here is this little scene over here. And there's a whole bunch of little ants. I'm just trying to see if I can ID them. But look at the activity on this carcass. This is the remnants of a ground beetle. And just looking at this beetle, its sheer size is quite scary. But when alive, these are active predators, predating on other insects. And they have massive interlocking mandibles that they use to capture, grasp prey first and foremost, and then just in a scissor-like motion, shear through other bodies. But these little ants now that this individual has passed away, these ants are going to work. So ants they collect plant and as well as animal matter. And if you think about the ecological role that these insects play within multiple systems across the globe is vital. So So an individual would have made its way past here, found this ground beetle. It would have gone back, laying a little bit of a trail, like a pheromone trail, to lead basically the scouting party to this carcass. And then from there, individuals would have been coming backwards and forwards to this site, using the mandibles, breaking off pieces, and then transporting those pieces back to the nest. And if you look at ants, they are extremely strong for their tiny little size. And if you look at insects across the board, it's the way that their muscles are designed in a cross-section to give them maximum power. Or maybe Anopelipus, or... Sure, I'd need to get a bit closer. But nothing is lost out in the bush. And energy is constantly being redistributed. It's never lost. Oh, David, great question. How long will it take for these ants to clean up this corpse? I would say by tomorrow morning, this corpse will be done. They are very efficient workers, ants. They are very efficient ants. Workers. And they have got a drive like no other. Just to provide and ensure the safety of the colony, this will be viable food for these animals. Back at a nest site, and obviously a certain caste performing this duty right now. Incredible. So the energy that this beetle would have consumed along the lines now is being passed down onto these tiny little organisms. And from that, when these tiny little organisms consume it, the nutrients is put back into the soil, or something else eats them. So if you think about energy and energy itself within an ecosystem, it's constantly being redistributed from one section of the ecosystem to another. It's never lost. It's a continuous flow. But really busy little bodies. And they'll more than likely take this whole carcass down into the nest chamber. And this will be viable food for colony members. Cantrell, nice comment there that you made. The sand is such a beautiful color. It is really amazing, and it gives such a striking contrast with the rest of the environment, especially now with the green flush that we have around us. But that red color is actually from a coating of iron oxide that is coating every single little grain of sand that you see there. And that is basically the raw version of a rock. It's broken down rock, and the main look at them. The main structure will be quartz. And you can see tiny little grains of quartz in between on the left-hand side of that carcass. In between the carcass, you can actually see the quartz itself. So there's a large individual there to the antennae now. So hopefully we get lucky along the lines and we can find a predatory ground beetle alive. These guys are very vicious and very active predators. And if you ever come across one, you should just practice caution, because they are able to squirt a form of acid from their abdomen, and they are very accurate. And so, you don't want that acid going into your eyes or on your skin. So with all things, you just should practice respect regardless, and just view. So using the mandibles to break through that hard exoskeleton, and it's got to be quite a task, because if you think about the material that makes up these insects' bodies, chitin is a very hardy, very durable substance. All right, but we can enjoy this for a couple of minutes, but for now we're going to send you off to Pete, and he's got some lions. Welcome back to Pindar Private Game Reserve and beyond, everybody. We've just got sighting of the lions again. They were walking through quite a thick area, but we were just waiting here because we knew that they were going to be returning straight to this piglet. There are actually two rhinos right in their path. It'll be quite interesting to see what they do about that. And you can see the wind's blowing straight from the lions towards the rhinos. So it'd be quite interesting to see what the rhinos do, because they probably won't be able to see the lions too well, but they'll definitely be able to smell them. You can see their ears are pricked straight forward.
Can't see them.
Sorry, the light's really harsh at the moment, so it's quite a tough angle for the camera. But hopefully in the next couple of minutes, these lions are going to walk straight towards it. They might even pick up the pace a little bit as they get the smell of the carcass. Yeah. So just for those sensitive viewers out there, there might be a little bit of a scuffle as the lions get here. There are 3 young adolescent male lions, so there might be a little bit of an argument. So just be wary, and if you don't want to watch it, just maybe tune the volume down for a little bit while it's happening. Probably won't last too long. It's quite a small meal. But yeah, we're just expecting a little bit of chaos as they get here, hopefully. You can see them now. They're probably about 70 meters away. The rhinos have moved completely off. Yeah, they've just moved out into the bush. They're getting a bit of protection from those bushes. Might even get a scratch as they're walking through those thorns. Oh, no, wait. It's a pity we can't see it because of the light, but these lions are climbing up the tree, clawing at it a little bit, just to sharpen their nails and pull out those joints, just to strengthen those ligaments a little bit. But the mom's moving here quite fast, so hopefully the rest of them should join quite soon. Those same giraffe are chasing again. They're kind of herding the lions away from them, and they're getting nice and close now. Very happy, they're very joyful, lots of excitement, lots of playing. Yeah, they're stopping, looking around. There we go, the one's jogging a little bit. Is it? Glenn, do you think we should reverse or just wait a little bit?
We can just wait here.
Yeah, I'm sure it won't be too much longer, and hopefully they'll be in perfect frame. There's a lot of animals. I remember when we were following that lioness towards her cubs. Demi, that's a great question. So male lions absolutely gorge themselves when they get to a carcass, especially if they haven't put a lot of effort into the hunt. They'll get there straight away and just eat as much as they can, sometimes 20, 30 kilograms at one sitting. You'll often see them. I don't know if you go online and look up pictures of male lions that are full. Their belly is completely swollen, and they're literally lying there on their backs, and they can't do much about it. They're just breathing really heavy, and usually, unfortunately, it's the females that get to eat a little bit less. It's normally the males, then the cubs would go just after the males if there are cubs around, and then the females will get the little, hopefully a lot more meat, but they often get the scraps just to keep them full. I don't know if you can hear that. There's a buffalo just inside this thicket that must have smelt the lions, and they just gave an alarm call.
Stopped because of those rhino, I think also.
Yeah, stopped because of the rhino. I think I might reverse a little bit. That one lion showing a little bit of interest. It's a younger lion, so he might just try and play. Let's go back a little bit. Oh my word. Can get them.
The lion's gone straight into the thicket there. So you're just trying to keep an eye on him. Let's see which lion it is. Really, really interesting to see this behavior. A fully grown lioness probably knows the risks of hunting a buffalo by themselves. That's why I suspect this being one of the younger males. Yeah, you can see she's just been chased out, and it actually is one of the younger males. So you can see that young joyfulness, a lot of energy, almost like he's smiling. I'm sure those buffalo aren't smiling. They're probably a little bit grumpy at the moment. They're so close now, walking, yawning, completely focused on everything except where their food is at the moment, but now they're marching on. I think they know that it's not a very large meal, so if there is another opportunity on their path, then they'll probably rather take that. They'll still continue back to this meal, which is probably 35 meters away from where they are now. That mane of those young, or that young developing mane on these male lions is really beautiful with this wind blowing to the side. Really nice for photos. Okay, so I'm just gonna, as they get a little bit closer, I'm just gonna jump ahead so we can get back to where that carcass is and try and get it just in time. I'm sure they're gonna pick up the pace now. Glenn, you must let me. Yep. Summer, that's a good question. Usually if the lions are right at the carcass, the other predators probably wouldn't steal it unless it's other lions. But with the way this female left it, if a jackal, something as small as a jackal even came across this, they would definitely take it away. I mean, that lioness went off 500, 700 meters. So there's a great chance that a jackal or hyena would have picked this up and run off. The lioness obviously knows this area quite well, so she knows there are not too many of those other predators around, so that's why she felt comfortable just leaving this carcass just like this. So they're really, really close now. They're actually right about to walk past the vehicle. And let's see, this first male, he might even pick it up and try and take it away from his brothers. The mom's the one that actually knows exactly where it is. This one's walking right past it, right past the carcass. Mom knows it's here. There she goes. I wonder if they know if she's even caught something yet. There we go, this one's focused a little bit. There we go. Watch them now. Mom just walks off because she knows there might be a little bit of a... There we go, the one's trying to steal it away from his brothers. There we go, running off. This may even be the dominant brother of the three. It's quite amazing how the rest of these brothers are. Camel Pug, this young male does seem very proud for someone that hasn't put a lot of effort into this meal. The others are actually, I'm very surprised at how relaxed they've been. They haven't really been too interested in the meal. Look, he's playing with it. It's almost like a house cat. If they've caught a rat and they bring it to you and they almost are so proud of it, they want to show it off. I'm truly surprised at how the other males aren't really competing too much for the meal. they might be a little bit scared. So from a young age, there's usually one brother that stands out in terms of dominance, one that eats a little bit more and is a little bit more aggressive in every confrontation and every time they play. And that might be the one that's actually got this meal. He might be the dominant one from a young age, and that might carry on until they're fully grown. It doesn't mean the other brothers won't challenge him, but it definitely means that he will probably initially be the dominant male. Quite interesting about these three, when they leave their mother one day, they all stick together, and that's called a coalition. So they'll stick together and roam their territory, find a territory for them together. And you can imagine three big males as a force to be reckoned with. They almost paying the mom more attention than the carcass, which is really interesting. Not even a growl. Even lying around. It's a really good area to lie down. That place where we saw the rhinos and the hippos is right here where there's water, and often at this time of day a lot of animals will come down to drink. So they position them quite well for another meal. Let's go forward a little bit. Look at that male, he's carried it right away from the rest of them. Maybe one of them was getting a little bit too close. I just want to... Sorry. Just quickly shooting past. Awesome, they found a little bit of shade now too. This alright, Glenn? Oh, look at that. A little bit of a... Don't get any closer. Look at the one behind, kind of sneaking up on his brother. At this age, you can often even almost tell by the size of their mane. It's amazing to see that the one has eaten a lot more than the rest of them. From a young age. It could have even started as early as when they were suckling from this lioness here. So this has been really, really incredible. It seems like those two brothers on the left have kind of distanced themselves, given the slightly larger brother a chance to play with his food. But yeah, we're going to stick with them and see how this carries out.
Join us around the fire as we have our very first Wild Earth Explorers Fireside Chat.
And what that means is that if you are an explorer, we're inviting you to come and join us so we can chat about the greatest highlights of 2020.
We will be chatting about our favorite characters and what they have been up to during the course of this year.
And if you would like to join us, head over to our Explorers page and subscribe. Don't miss out. This Fireside Chat will be on the 13th of December at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time, straight after Sunset Safari.
Join our Explorers program so we can keep on sharing nature with the world. For a monthly subscription, you will have the opportunity to win fantastic Wild Earth expeditions, have access to an animal identification app, receive weekly highlights from our shows, and much more. All the money will go to keeping these live safaris on air, which in turn connects a global population with nature.
Hello everyone, my name is Trishala and I am a naturalist and safari guide here in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. I think that the information that we provide, and most importantly the questions that you ask, give both you and I a really good idea of what's going on. My friend Fernando here, he's a flat-necked chameleon and I love them. They're just these gems that you manage to find in the bush.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth. Have you been watching Wild Earth and dreamt of being right there on safari with one of the guides? Well, now you can. Wild Earth is offering you a chance to buy a ticket to dream. You or a friend can hop on board a live Wild Earth show and join our guide on safari. The ticket is redeemable at any of our locations, anytime in the future. Only a limited number of tickets are available, so don't wait. Get your ticket now and start dreaming. Terms and conditions apply.
So these lions have carried on moving along the road, kind of alongside this dry riverbed, dry dam right here. There's a little bit of water. I don't know if there's just some rhinos just up above. So I'm sure as we stop, we'll get to see them. This lion's walking right towards us now. They've just been carrying along this road. I'm not too sure where this young lion is taking this meal. He's probably just trying to get a little bit of distance between himself and his brothers, but it's not quite working too well for him. Alright, so you can see they're still trying to play with each other, still trying to play with the meal. I don't think anyone's even taken a bite of it yet. Let's go up ahead again. I'm sure they're walking straight towards that waterhole. And let's see what they get up to. That guy's just laid down there. Ooh. Yeah, really, really awesome sighting. It's very unusual that they didn't eat it right on the spot. I was honestly expecting them just to take it to pieces as quickly as possible. But it does really make you think about your house cats or something very similar to that, where they bring a rat home. Yeah. Sure, they'll move again. Okay, so the Carol, you're very right. I think that's why they're moving so much now, especially right towards this waterhole. Mom didn't even take a bite herself, so she was just completely ignoring it, let them almost eat it all to themselves. I'm sure this won't even be enough for the one little lion. Even though these are young lions, they can eat a considerable amount. See how these lions have now just spotted the hippos just up above, and I'm sure they'll also be wary, just like those rhinos were earlier. They'll also be quite wary of those hippos, a little bit afraid. Look how he's just licking it now. That might be, once again, those puncture wounds where the mother had put her teeth in, licking a little bit of that blood. You might even get to see on his nose and his chin. There's a lot of blood there. Really, really awesome. Look how he's even tired now, just from playing around with his meal. The rest of the lions have kind of just ignored him completely. He's actually feeling a little bit left out. I'm sure he was keen to flaunt his meal in front of everyone and try and be as brave as possible, or try and be a little bit of a show-off. Might be bragging, even though Mom did all the hard work. I'm going to loop around and get right above where those hippos were, just to see the interaction. I think it might be quite an interesting one. Hopefully those hippos decide to move a little bit. It's quite a rocky area, so just hold on tight. Ooh, I might have to go around. Land cruisers are tough, but I didn't want to risk it too much, especially with such an exciting sighting at the moment. Look at that. Oh, so this is quite an amazing sighting. There are now 3 white rhinos here. Can just see the top of the hippos. Look at the rhinos. Look at the rhinos just running off now. They're kind of not too sure what's going on. I'm sure these young sub-adult male lions might try and chase off the rhinos a little bit. Let's see what's going to happen here. Oh, that one got spooked a little bit. Look at them. I'm sure they might try their luck, might even chase them for a little bit of fun. But let's see. I think they're going to go down for a drink. Let's see what the hippos do. I'm a little bit worried about frightening these rhinos, so I'm going to give it a bit of a wide berth so that they didn't get too nervous of what's going on. I think they're really on the edge of their seats at the moment. Let's just let them carry on. Just don't want to scare them away from a potential drinking opportunity. So I'm going to go around the other way because these rhinos look a little bit concerned, a little bit stressed, and we obviously don't want that to happen. We want to be as sensitive as possible to what's going on around here, especially with such an interaction going on. It's really, really amazing to see. I wonder what this lion's going to do now with his meal. I wonder if he's going to put it down and have a drink, or is he going to drink with it? He doesn't want to be separated from that. He's so scared that one of his brothers might steal it away. I'm suspecting that he might wait for them to finish drinking and then only start. Let's see what happens. Quite interesting now, these rhinos are actually getting a little bit closer, creating a bit of dust, turning around. Look, it's right in front of his nose, so if anyone tries to snip it away, he's not letting them get even close to it. Seems like these rhinos have even forgotten completely about the hippos and just focused all their attention on the lions. This is really, really an amazing sighting. Look how close now. If you go to the left, I think that rhino just got a sniff of the hippo. He might have forgotten slightly, went down, put his nose in the water, and then, as if he was alerted by something, said, whoops, don't get too close. There's strength in teamwork though, they're going together. So if that hippo had to try get any closer, they'd probably run off together and give that hippo a little bit of a fright. Beautiful, beautiful sighting. So lions aren't incredibly water dependent. They can go a few days without drinking. They get a lot of their moisture actually from their meals, from the blood and from all the fluids inside the body of an animal. But obviously if they had to come across water, they would take the opportunity to drink. Really, really cool. Look how those hips at the back are just sticking out there, that tail lying flat, ears completely backwards. Often if they know there might be a crocodile on the dam or on the waterhole, they might put their ears a little bit more forward just to hear any slight movements or variations. But at the moment they're putting them flat back to see if there's anything coming from behind them, because obviously their eyes will be looking up, looking at whatever's going on. Mom's almost guarding them, keeping her head up while the rest drink. Such an incredible sighting. These rhino are getting a little bit braver, coming slightly closer to the lions. Really, really such a beautiful sighting. That light on the female lioness at the moment is really perfect. Their coat almost shines with this light. Yeah, the hippos seem to have got a little bit of a fright there. Might be from the rhinos rubbing up against each other, making a bit of a scuffle sound. Not too sure why the rhinos just don't come and drink a little bit closer here. There's a waterhole a lot closer than the risky one that they're busy trying to drink from. So the lions will fill up their bellies now, get as much water as they can in, and probably go out looking to hunt, and because they've had such a small meal now, or not completed it, but almost. They're probably going to look out for any other warthogs around. It's a really good habitat. Thanks, David. It's a really, really beautiful scene. If you look in the backgrounds, there's actually the beautiful Lobombo mountain range. It's a really, really nice setting. It's beautiful trees, these fever trees that bring such nice color. And it's so nice and green because we've had a little bit of rain. Not enough to fill up the water holes or the dams, but enough to make everything green. But thanks for your comment. It really is beautiful. One of my favorite parts of the reserve. All these rhinos are getting quite nice and close to us now. Like I mentioned earlier, there's a slightly closer waterhole. Not too sure why they weren't drinking here earlier. It's a little bit deep. I hope he doesn't slip in. You can now see all those scratches on the side of this rhino. Earlier I mentioned that they went through the thicket, and those thorns would have scraped all of that mud that they would have got from wallowing. They would have scraped all that mud off. Whoop, a little slip. It's amazing to see how much smaller their eyes are compared to their body and their head. Just see how that's kind of their least used organ, or sense rather. That lion's still carrying that carcass around, flaunting it about. Can you hear that squeal from this rhino right here? So we're going to sit here tight for a little while and see what happens. These lions seem to be moving off a little bit now, but Tristan's got a massive herd of elephants for you, which sounds really, really exciting.
Well, we have the most unbelievable scene that is playing out at Chitwa Dam, just from a point of view of sheer scale of numbers. I haven't seen an elephant herd this big in a very, very, very long time. There must be close to 70 elephants spread across Chitwa Dam. They are absolutely everywhere. There's tiny babies, there's middle-sized babies, there's adult females. It's just absolutely ridiculous how many elephants are coming down, and they're still coming. I'm still seeing more of them coming over the dam wall onto this side, but it's absolutely beautiful with this kind of afternoon light across this open clearing, and these ellies with the dust as they walk towards us, Egyptian geese that are being scattered in amongst the herd. It is the most magical scene. It's been a long time since I've seen a herd of this magnitude in this area. Now, I wonder, yesterday when that leucistic elephant was reported, the guys said that it was part of a herd of about 70 odd. Now, I wonder if it's not this herd. So I'm looking very, very carefully to see if that leucistic elephant is in amongst it. I haven't seen anything yet, but that's not to say that it isn't here. It could very well still be in this general vicinity. There was a lot that came after I left the corner of the dam. We came all the way along this side, and a whole bunch of them kind of carried on coming over the wall. So maybe that elephant is at the back somewhere. There's also some really, really little babies in amongst this group, some with little umbilical cords still attached here. They all come up towards us here in front. Just watch how many ellies are going to pile past us. It's unbelievable to see. I love seeing herds like this. It's one of those really special things when you get these big groupings of ellies. Look at that. It's just legs and tails and tusks and ears. Absolutely magnificent. I don't know if any of you are counting them as they go past, but it would be really interesting to know how many we've got. I reckon we must be well over 50 in this particular grouping. Interestingly, though, there's very few bulls in the herd. There's quite a number of young ones, but no sort of 15, 16-year-old bulls that I've seen just yet. It seems to be mostly kind of young cows, well, big cows and kind of going down, and then just young bulls that are in the general vicinity. That's really special. Amazing. It's just, and tranquil is the other side of it. Just sitting here and listening to them drinking and moving around. I'm actually going to keep quiet so you can hear all the sounds. There's a tiny little baby in front. It's going to come past the vehicle now. See it in the background there. Isn't that cute? You see the little umbilical cord still attached. Is this the one that still has the umbilical cord or is not? There's two that are very, very small of that size. One has got the umbilical cord and the other one doesn't. Super sweet. Still wobbly on its feet though. It's a very new baby that's also within the last few days. That one has been born, much like the one that we saw the other day. I can't believe they're still coming. There's still more of them on their way, which is ridiculous. Beautiful with the sounds of the hippos here as well. If you can hear all the water being splashed, them slurping. It's a beautiful hot afternoon, so I'm not surprised they've come down for water at this stage. Like I say, these kind of herds are not common for us at all. We generally see herds of between 15 and 30. But this is just on another level altogether. Lisa, you say your heart is melting? Little baby Ellies are cute, aren't they? We've been spoilt with baby Ellies of late. There's been a number of little ones that we've been seeing, which is really cool. Nice when you've got lots of baby Ellies around. But what's drawn such a big herd and like this, I'm not sure. Also, one kind of part of this herd is that I want to just check if there's not any sign of Fang. She has a very large grouping, but there's two females there that are very distinct, and I haven't seen either of those, so I don't think she's here. I think it's just a different grouping, but I've never seen these Ellies before. A lot of them I don't recognize. I don't know where they've come from, and if maybe for some reason there's just a new grouping that's passing through. Either way, it would be for this area, it's deemed a mega herd, that's for sure. Oh, it looks like some of the bulls are going to start swimming. Let's go and catch up with those guys. They're further down, right at the other end of the dam. I'll go check them because an elephant swimming has got to be one of the most amazing, joyful experiences that one can have. And so while we make our way there, let's hope that the rest of the herd doesn't disappear.
Listen, that sounds like an amazing sighting. So that the elephant is certainly a true spectacle. And what we have here is a few buffalo bulls in some. So yeah, we've got a few buffalo bulls here, and you can see the insects that are flying all around them. Can you hear me now? How's about now? Cool, now we're back. Sorry, a bit of problem with the microphone there. So we've got a few buffalo bulls. I was just saying what a spectacle 70 elephants is. I really hope they do go for a swim. And here we've got some buffalo bulls. You can see all those insects flying around. Look at those ears moving, trying to keep them away. I mean, a lot of those insects might be going into their nostrils, maybe close to their eyes as well. It's quite amazing, actually. The light is actually illuminating all those insects. Must be quite frustrating having all of those little critters flying around your ears, around your nose, around your eyes. And you see how that one in the background there is just chewing and chewing and chewing, although it's not really feeding on anything. So buffaloes are ruminants. They've got 4 stomachs in which they kind of pass the food between. And while they're taking it a bit easy during the heat of the day, they will lie down, conserve energy, and in fact ruminate, pass this a ball of cud that they're chewing now, that's what they call it, and they'll essentially pass it through different stomachs, trying to absorb as much of the nutrients as they possibly can from the grass that they feed on. And these look like quite older bulls. I mean, most of them are beyond their breeding time, and I wonder if they haven't kind of just latched off of a herd that has moved through here in the past few days, found a good place to feed. There's water around, and you'll see as they start to get older, they get out-competed by the younger and stronger bulls. And they also start to get a bit older, and they can't move nearly as quickly. And a buffalo herd can move an incredible distance, and they're pretty much permanently moving. They may spend a few hours during the day or even in the evenings resting. But it can be tricky for the older ones to keep up, and they'll kind of lag behind and find a place where there's lots of food and lots of water, where they don't have to walk too far, particularly once they have been out-competed and no longer are able to really breed. So these guys, I mean, this is a big bull in front of us here. Look at how big his horns are, particularly that place in the middle on the top of his head. Almost looks like an old school wig on his head. Thick horns, lots of bone, and that'll be there to protect his skull when fighting. And when they fight, they'll bash their heads together and try and be as stronger than the other one and try and dominate it by pushing it and showing just how strong this one is. And if they didn't have this big, what we call a boss on the top of their heads, that would in fact crack their skulls. But having that extra protection goes a long way to protecting them. And the bigger the bull, often the bigger the boss, the stronger it is and the harder it can hit without injuring itself. I mean, these bulls are lying right down in the grass. For such a big animal, it's very camouflaged in the long grass. This one closest to us as well, he's not even really bothering about the insects, although I'm sure it's driving him mad. The other ones are all flicking their ears and their tails. You'll often see certain birds flying around here, oxpeckers on their backs, or even some other birds kind of picking off the insects. So I'm quickly going to send you back to Tristan. It sounds like those elephants have gone for a swim. That's a real spectacle to witness.
Well, this elephant pool party is in full effect. It is a whole bunch of ellies just swimming all over the place at this stage. There's hippos involved that are being chased by the elephants. There's females that are groaning and grunting. It's just the most joyful sight, watching everybody having the best time on a hot afternoon. I must admit I'm a little jealous of them, that's for sure. What's also interesting is it seems one herd, or this grouping that we've got here, is actually breaking off the other herd and moving on in their own direction. The rest of them have gone east, and this grouping that's still playing here looks like they're going to start heading more west at this stage, which is strange. Normally when elephants arrive together, they normally stay together. But I'm going to keep quiet because the splashing is just so good. generally when we have these herds like this, it's normally the adults that are swimming, particularly the bulls, but you can see we've got family groups swimming here, which is even more special, especially when you get the little babies in amongst it. You can see they stay in a little bit more shallow area. Not look like they're having the absolute best time. We've got a temper tantrum happening in front of us as well. There's one elephant in front of us that's having an absolute temper tantrum because the rest of his herd is leaving, and I don't think he wants to leave. Joy, you say it's great to hear all the splashing? Really nice, isn't it? So there's our temper tantrum Ellie. Behave yourself. It's almost protest. I don't want to get out of the water. Why do I have to? Why is everyone spoiling my fun? That's why we've got ears out, we've got tail out. Not impressed with life at all while the rest are feeding. Off it goes to go and join the rest of the herd. Claudia, the trumpet sound is coming from the trunk. It's air that is pushed through the trunk itself, which produces that high-pitched trumpet. The mouth is where you're getting more of those grumbles that you hear from time to time with these guys. Oh, the light on these elephants on the left is just so good. The dam wall, unfortunately, is blocking some of the light on those guys that are a little bit further away, but these ones closest to us still have that late afternoon orange light that's just kind of making their skin glow a slight orange color, particularly because they're wet. These kind of glistening little parts of their body. It really, really is beautiful. Seems like everyone's calming down a little bit. We're not so frantic in terms of swimming now. Just to update you guys as well, we did get Tunley's cub on Torchwood, but shame, he got a bit of a fright. We were tracking and he saw us on foot and he kind of ran down into a drainage line. So we decided just to leave him be. We might go back there just now to see if he's kind of popped back out again. But he's kind of exactly where we thought he'd be. His mom took him back into the drainage on the other side of the rock. So he's there and mom has left him in there. Her tracks leave that area and kind of go away. So that's where he's staying at the moment. But don't go behind the island, you lot. Hippo yawn, just to top things off, just to make it as good as one could get. Between the Ellies, we now have hippos as well. But no leucistic elephant either, by the way. I did check all of them now. So it's not in this herd, which means we've got another massive herd roaming around here somewhere. They apparently went north yesterday, but we haven't picked up any sign of them on our side. So I was thinking maybe they had turned and come back towards Chitwa. Given how big this dam is, it would be the right size dam for such a large herd. There's no sign of a leucistic anywhere in this grouping. This is one of the absolute best parts of Chitwa. It's why I always enjoy coming here late afternoon, is that this is what can sometimes happen, particularly when it's a hot afternoon. You find the Ellies and come in here and they just can't help themselves. It's when they see this massive body of water. I mean, I would be the same if I was an Ellie and it had been a hot day. I would also want to get around. Now, I'm going to go forward a little bit for you because it's pretty tricky to get those Ellies from where we are. So I'm going to try and just turn us a little bit. Isn't that the most idyllic setting for a camp? Imagine being sitting there and this is just kind of what happens in front of you all day long. some days, if you get hot weather just before the rains, sometimes the elephants can just be a constant stream through this waterhole, and bulls will sometimes swim for 3-4 hours, and they're around the water, and they just have the best time splashing and chasing one another, and generally just doing what bull elephants do. It's a pleasure to sometimes just sit at the camp and enjoy what goes on. The little baby on. I think that baby is having a whale of a time. It really is going absolutely crazy. It keeps going underneath the water, and just see this little trunk poking up every now and then. Cactus Jack, can you imagine if we gave this lot a beach ball, the chaos that would ensue? There would be balls thrown around all over the place. Hippos would get involved. It would just become an absolute mess. That's for sure. You'll see that this area is actually not as deep as it looks. If you watch them walking, you can see it kind of goes from island to island, and then there's a little channel in between, but it's actually not that deep. Scarily though, in November of last year, the water was on the other side of these elephants. That was where the edge of the water was. So it's filled up a lot in the last while. No, boy, why are you being naughty? It's epic though. Having his own little party on that bank. He's slipping. Those sounds, just incredible. So it was definitely two herds that came together at this dam at once. But what I don't understand is that they were following each other in single file all the way here, which is odd. Generally, when you get two groupings, together, they might come from two different directions, drink, and then separate. But this group all arrived in one solid line and then broke apart afterwards. It's a decent-sized Ellie bull, though. That guy over there. I was saying there wasn't too many big Ellies around, but he was the one that came last, following the herd. Alright, well, wasn't that just absolutely magical? Alright, we might head back up towards where we last saw Tundy's cub. Hopefully we'll be able to pick him up again, and hopefully we'll be able to find some signal too.
Join us around the fire as we have our very first Wild Earth Explorers Fireside Chat.
And what that means is that if you are an explorer, we're inviting you to come and join us so we can chat about the greatest highlights of 2020.
We will be chatting about our favorite characters and what they have been up to during the course of this year.
And if you would like to join us, head over to our Explorers page and subscribe. Don't miss out. This Fireside Chat will be on the 13th of December at 7:30 p.m. Central African Time, straight after Sunset Safari.
An ever-increasing part of the global population is losing its connection with nature. Wild Earth is here to reduce people's stress and anxiety, allowing you to escape into nature even just for a few hours a day. However, Wild Earth is expensive to run, and we need help from you to keep this ship going. Wild Earth Explorers gives you the opportunity to be part of a program that supports the sharing of nature with the world.
My name is James Henry, and I work here at Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands on the western fringes of the Greater Kruger National Park. My favorite part of getting questions from viewers is that we get to have long and varied discussions about all sorts of different aspects of nature. Because our audience comes from all over the world, it's very special to have different perspectives from everywhere. If you want to submit a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to the Live Safari page and submit your question beneath the live feed.
This is Rusty. He's my favorite vehicle, and we've been through all the good times here in the bush. Now, if you feel a connection to Djuma Game Reserve like I do, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. You can have your name engraved on a brushed metal plaque just like this one, and we will attach it to Rusty so you can always be with us on safari in spirit. We will even send you a digital photograph once your plaque is mounted on Rusty. Spaces are limited, so grab your spot now.
Welcome back to And Beyond Ngala, everybody. Now, we've kind of just bumped into this lioness who's breathing incredibly heavily. I'm sure she's one of the Squirrel Pride lionesses, and she was feeding on a carcass the other day. But what actually brought our attention initially to this area is this incredibly large elephant bull. I mean, have a look how close they are to one another, and look how big and majestic this guy is. He's got beautiful tusks. Just taking advantage of this open area and the soft grass. Huge tusks on his own, very chilled as well. He's kind of moving around. I'm actually super interested to see what he certainly knows there's actually two lionesses here. The one's behind us now lying in the thick grass. She was up earlier, and the elephant did show a little bit of interest towards her, but nothing too aggressive. And I mean, elephants can often be incredibly aggressive towards lions. But at that distance, like we just saw the lioness, she's probably around 35 meters away from the elephant. They've both got really good eyes on one another. I mean, the lioness is certainly not going to try and take this big elephant down. She's risking way too much by trying to take him down in terms of an injury which will potentially end her life. Look at how full that tummy is. Look how quickly she's breathing as well. It's going to put a lot of pressure on her diaphragm, breathing quickly, trying to get as much oxygen as she can into there. Also by allowing her digestive system to digest it slightly quicker when she breathes like that. It almost speeds it up, allowing her to feed on more if there's anything left. I don't think there's anything left on this carcass. There was pretty much nothing left on it yesterday. Lying flat. You'll often see, I mean, with such a full tummy and the pressure on her diaphragm, she will often try and roll around because she's quite uncomfortable, in fact. She's kind of like gone into a sleep, not watching the elephant. She's obviously made up her mind that she's not too worried about it. Although the elephant is kind of making his way towards her, I don't think he's going to be able to sneak up on her. There's lots of open ground between them. And he's not focused or worried about it. He's just worried about eating, pulling all that fresh grass and fresh plants out of the ground. Nice and soft, nutritious vegetation for this elephant. He's a big bull. He doesn't look terribly old either. He's, my guess, maybe be 35 years old or so. Magnificent pair of tusks. She's still got a bit of growing to do. Have a look how dirty this one on the right is as well. It's been working. I mean, maybe pushing some trees over, using it as like a kind of lever when he's breaking branches over it. Often in the mud as well, when he's trying to wet himself, that'll get covered in mud. See how he just put his trunk up like that? He was kind of smelling. How's the lighting as well? Isn't it stunning? So this other lioness, I just want to try, it might be difficult for BK to get. I just want to go a little bit forward here. She's up and she's kind of moving around. How's that, BK? Better. Up and moving around. She's watching very carefully. She's quite a bit younger. See how heavily she's breathing as well. Also got a very full tummy. Listen to her calling. Look at the blood on her face as well. I'm sure that blood will be cleaned up in the next few hours. she has just seen the other female going down there. I wonder if they're not kind of leaving this carcass for the... I mean, there's probably nothing left, a few bones. Leaving it for the hyenas and the vultures to come through this evening. Look at her kind of swaying. She's got such a full belly. Making a bit of space. And breathing quickly and going to the loo. Make some extra space. Thankfully, we're not downwind of that, because lion scat can smell terrible. Not too worried about who's watching, huh? I can't believe how close that elephant is to these two lionesses. Let's see where she goes. I'm sure she's going to go and join up with, maybe it's her mother, in fact. But the one in front further away looks like an older lioness, and this one a little bit younger. Let's kind of see what the reunion's like. I can't believe how not phased this elephant is. Pile, what pride is she from? These two lionesses are from the Squirrel Pride, which comes in from our eastern side. They spend most of their time in the Kruger Park. And so, yeah, I mean, just from the other day, we did recognize them being from the Squirrel Pride. They're hanging around in the Birmingham Pride's territory, and they're not actually too far, the Birmingham Pride, when I found them this morning as well. I was kind of heading, but they've kind of shown off, and with this elephant around, it's quite an interesting scene. I wonder if they're not going to be going back into the Kruger Park this afternoon or this evening. Look at that reunion. Looked like the little one was desperate for it. The mom, not so much, or the older lioness. I've changed my mind. We're no longer downwind. I can definitely smell that scat. PK's kind of turning his face up as well. So I might spend a little bit more time, see what happens here between these elephants, or this elephant and these lions. If not, I'm going to continue on my way towards the Birmingham Pride. I only caught something small this morning. Maybe this evening they'll be lucky.
We've managed to relocate Tingana, which is always delightful. I'm just trying to get into position. He seems like he's eaten quite a bit and is now relaxing and digesting. Look at that tail. Perfect pose. It smells very leopardy around here. I wonder why. His meal is finished. He's just moved a little bit from the tree. Oh, a couple 100 meters from the tree that he had the kill in this morning. Always worth a check, just in case they're lazing around. Even if the kill is finished in London, we got lucky with that same thought today. He looked like he winked a few times just now. He is just relaxing like leopards do at this time, at least if they're full. But at Pinda, there's exciting things going on with another type of big cat.
Welcome back to and Beyond Pinda Private Game Reserve. We've got an unbelievable scenario going on here. We've got lions, rhinos, and hippos all in one. Look at that. These three cheeky youngsters have tried their luck with the hippos. You can see the one hippo is now standing up, and now they've moved their attention across to the rhinos. You can see they're teaming up there, the two brothers, pretending to stalk. practicing. They know that they'll never use or be able to take down a fully grown rhino, but they were just trying their luck as a bit of practice for one day when they get to hunt. This one hippo and this lion have locked eyes. They're not taking eyes off each other. Really, really intimidating there from both sides. I think the hippo won the staring contest there. The young male seems to be moving off now. This rhino, on the other hand, isn't backing down. He's got his ears pricked straight forward. All his attention focused on these lions. Look at him creeping closer there, sniffing the ground. The wind is whoa, he's getting really close now. And these lions seem all bark, no bite. They're a little bit nervous of what's going on. I would be as well. Look at how they've got their head down, similar to... Oh, it's getting closer. Look how he's slowly creeping away. Really, really incredible sighting here. They seem to have given up now, going back to the security of Mom. Mom didn't seem phased at all while they were messing about, letting them do their thing. These rhinos too have had enough. Oh, look, creeping. As he turns his back, the lion starts running again. Really, really incredible to see. The rhino's not really too phased by the lion now. It's got his ears still pricked backwards focused on them, just to make sure that they're not messing about, but seems to be carrying on with what they were doing. But the lion, on the other hand, has got other ideas. He's trying to stalk again. Wouldn't be surprised if he backs down. These hippos seem to be getting a little bit more active. Slightly moving about in the water. The one's still standing. This is about the time where they would start thinking about getting out of the water, maybe start yawning. The one closer to us doesn't seem too interested in getting out yet. Eyes are half closed. But you can see how they head to toe now, one facing the one way, one the other way, just to make sure that there's no threat from either side. Whoop. I was talking about that pinkness on their skin and their shoulders. This one that's closer to us, you can just see on that fold there's a little bit of that pink skin that I was talking about, that's slightly more sensitive to the sun. It's cooling down nicely now. I'm really hoping that these lions start to get a little bit more active, possibly start heading out to look for something to hunt. They have been grooming themselves and yawning and stretching a little bit, so these are all good signs that they might be getting moving soon. You can see the one that's closest to the road there. He's still licking the blood off his paw. He made light work of that young warthog. Really amazing. If you look at their paws on that road now, you can see them quite nicely, how big they are, and they're going to grow into those quite soon. It's hard to believe that they're probably just over a year old. But I don't know if Glenn can just show you the scene now where the sun's just set right behind them, that beautiful mountain range with that little bit of pink coming through those clouds there. Really, really fantastic scenes there at Untitled. That young lion still trying his luck now. He's going to go for a little trot. That poor rhino just won't leave him alone. I'm sure that rhino is keen to go and find somewhere to lie down, spend the night away from these young lions. Look at it, it's getting quite close now. Off they go. Oh, the mom's also up. Should we follow them for a little bit, see what's conspiring down there? Don't know where the last line is. I've seen two head off. There's mom. There's the last one coming back. Maybe he was just finishing off the scraps, or the little bit left of that young warthog. The second hippo is laid down now. Obviously, you realize the threat's gone. Oh, look at them two playing there. Not too sure what their plan is here. One's keeping an eye on those rhinos still, the other one's heading back towards where the hippos were. The mom, which is just behind us, if I reposition quickly, I think she might come past us. Sorry, they're all surrounded us now. Seems like she's also heading now back towards the waterhole, which is just to our right here. There she is, right next to our vehicle. The wind is picking up properly here, cooling things down. So obviously it might assist them with hunting, because the prey species will be a little bit, their hearing will be a bit dulled, would be really hard to pick up any scent as well. Cleaning each other a little bit, grooming. Mom still looks quite lethargic. She just seems to be waking up. I'm going to reposition a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to wait for this line to come past, and then we can go. He seems to be the trouble stirrer in the group. They've had quite a lot to drink. I haven't actually seen them drink this much before. It was a really, really hot day here though, so I'm sure they were quite dehydrated. So I'm sure these two, or these four rather, are going to maybe have another drink and then head off probably away from us into that area where there might be a little bit more prey around. We're going to stick with them, and hopefully we'll see you guys soon.
Thanks, Pete. From lions to lions, we've decided to come to where we left the Birmingham Pride this morning, and they are exactly in the same place, a couple of heads up. I'm going to spend the next minute or two just listening to the sounds around us as the sun starts to go down. It's amazing. I'm just going to keep quiet again. There's a hyena that's just started to call. Look how the lions have been interested in it. I'm really hoping that these lions get up and start to hunt. I mean, the small carcass from this morning is not going to be enough to feed them all. I'm going to hang around here. Maybe the hyena is going to come in to investigate. Maybe some wildebeest as well. Send you somewhere else for now.
Tingana sprinted. You saw just when you left us, he started to get up and walk, and then he just sprinted in a southerly direction, and then just flopped over and just is now lying down. He looked so intentful. He just came rushing towards the southern end of Western Quarantine. Tail wiggling. Everything was happening, super alert. And then fallen over. All that attention takes a lot of energy. And all that digestion takes a lot of energy too. I suspect he might still be a little bit hungry. Although he's looking quite well fed, but I've seen him look even larger. So perhaps he's looking for another meal. A little impala, perhaps. There's some males impala rams having a go at each other not far away in quarantine. Maybe that's what got his attention. But it didn't look like that. It looked like he had seen or heard or smelt another leopard. It was that kind of attention. It wasn't the calculated stalking. It was full run. You know, when they would do that bouncy kind of trot. And then he got you, and that was it. At least he provided me with some excitement at the potential of somebody else being around. I thought maybe Tlalamba might be around. And could it be true? He is very, very, very flat, and I don't think he's going to be doing much more for the evening. Maybe taking a bit of a walk, maybe going to have a drink. But not much more activity than that. Luckily for us, there's quite a few trees around, so we can still stick to our plan of looking for bush babies while we sit with him. Sometimes that's the best way to search for animals. So just sit quietly and patiently for a little while. That way we'll get to see Tingana, and we still get to look at all this bush. Look at that. Hopefully something will come hopping along. Maybe a chameleon will be finally revealed to us. That there would be a nice tree. It's a false marula, a nice tree for a bush baby. Certainly. Well, I didn't quite hear where I'm sending you, but I'm definitely sending you somewhere. So off you go.
Trish, that's bang on. That's completely true. Often you just got to sit still and listen to your surroundings, which is really important and quite a helpful tool in the bush, actually. We still here at Anbion Pinda Private Game Reserve with these lions. The one actually just picked up a little bit of elephant dung and walked away with it, almost to show Mom, hey, I've also got some food, look what I can do. But they've just moved on a little bit up ahead. The one seems to be coming up ahead a little bit, straight towards us. Let's see if he possibly comes and stalks his brother. Once again, just those hunting instincts, practicing those. But when Mom walked off in the direction that we were talking about, she definitely lifted her nose, smelled something, and then now she's just gone down and laid down just up ahead. You can see all the ears are pricked, facing exactly that direction. So it'll be interesting to see if they did pick up on a scent of something.
The one right in front of us is just looking at his brother saying, hey, are you gonna come and join us? But he's not too interested. This one that's a little bit closer to us, just probably a little bit tired from all the playing. There he goes. So we're gonna go up ahead just a little bit. See the interaction once again. Even though they've just been together, they might walk up together, greet one another once again. Right, yeah. There we go. There's that little rub of the face. Go cuddle up against mum. I think this wind is also quite cooling on their body, so they're probably going to huddle up a little bit closer now just to keep warm before they start moving. Mum is still panting quite a bit. Takes them quite a long time to recover. Even after a short chase or a short hunt, they take quite a while to recover. But yeah, they probably are going to sit here for a little while till it gets slightly darker, gives them an advantage over the prey species. But I've heard that Dan has some lions at Ngala as well, so that's quite exciting. Enjoy that.
Okay, well, welcome back to and beyond. I hope those lions use their advantage, but as we were sitting there, they kind of got up and chased after a herd of wildebeest. Let's see, look at them in front of us. There they go. Whoop. A couple of them in front of us here. Two of them have just stopped. Listening, I wonder, there's one in the far distance there. They've kind of spread out as well. Listen to the noises. So there's wildebeest that are alarm calling, impalas that are alarm calling. Their cover is unfortunately blown. They're still going though, hey? I mean, I wonder if there are not a few more lions that have kind of looped around to the right-hand side. I'm just going to try and put myself in a spot where I can see the wildebeest as well as the lions. And try and see if we can't find the best spot. If they don't come right with this hunt. It's amazing. They've left the younger ones behind, actually. Particularly in an open area here where there's not that much cover. It can be quite tricky. The younger ones will blow the cover, although their cover is blown anyway now with the wildebeest alarm calling so much. Yo, there's just a cloud of dust. And that wildebeest has now run away as well, unfortunately. Just a huge cloud of dust on our left-hand side from where that herd of wildebeest ran off from. Okay, I can't see the wildebeest. They seem to have also made their way away. Let's see if I can't find the rest of these lions. Oh, there's one lying down here. There's one right in front of us. Let's do this. Ethan, it's lots of lions, I agree with you, from Pinda to Tswalu to Ngala. Lots of day for lions. Not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. Can you hear all those noises? It almost sounds like someone blowing their nose. There's the impalas and wildebeest shouting to everyone around that they are lions, or at least a predator. I wonder if they're not going to come back closer. I mean, the wildebeest have run away. They'll come a bit closer to try and see if they can see them. Impala snorts everywhere. I agree with you. There are lots of impala snorts, lots of wildebeest snorts. I can hear a herd running again now as well. You better be careful not to run into the rest of the pride. Just going to stop and listen to those snorts. It's quite amazing, actually. Move forward a little bit. The rest of the pride is actually coming to join this young male over here. Just a tad forward. Let's see if we can't get all of them coming to reunite. I'm sure the ones that were lying down and the little ones have heard those alarm calls, in which case they're going to come and join up. I mean, this hunt is over for now. There's a lioness coming from our right-hand side. Oh, I can see the wildebeest from here now. Say again? Okay, cool. Okay, so we're just going to switch the camera to infrared quickly. That'll allow us the best shot when it starts to get dark. But have a look at this line. Look at the wildebeest in the background. This is one of the older lionesses. She must have been leading the hunt and even ahead of me. And that's what all those wildebeest are shotting at. Look at them staring right at her. There's a zebra in the back there as well. A couple of them. See how she's stopping and listening. I wonder if she's not trying to relocate the rest of the pride, which won't be very difficult. Look at how all those wildebeest, zebra, impala have kind of joined up together to fight this lion off. Push her away. Isn't she majestic, eh? Just walking through this clearing as if she really does run the show. I'm sure they're going to have to try and move around. They may even try for this herd again. Maybe wait a little bit, give them a bit of time to settle down again. Lions kind of regroup. Maybe they'll come up with a better strategy this time. Loop around. Although they did catch a wildebeest here this morning, I didn't see it happening. I just saw them feeding on what looked like a wildebeest leg. Didn't last very long at all. So this evening, once again, they're hungry. And because there's so many lions in this pride, they pretty much have to try and eat every day. Even a wildebeest isn't going to be sufficient to feed everyone. I'm sure there's a few calves in there. Sounded like a calf was just calling now. A small wildebeest calf certainly isn't going to last a long time. This lioness would actually try and eat the whole thing herself before sharing it. You'll see a few of these impalas and things will come a lot closer now that she's kind of laid down. There are a few bushes in between to try and make sure that they've always got eyes on her. If you can see the danger, it's less of a threat, particularly if you can keep the distance. And I mean, these animals, particularly the wildebeest and the impalas, are incredibly athletic and fit. And the lion really needs to get super close before they'll be able to be successful with it. Well, I'm going to spend a bit more time with this Birmingham pride in the hope that they get up and maybe try and re-strategize this hunt. In the meantime, I'll send you to another live location.
How insane is that animal?
This is out of this world. Fantastic. Good, Mama.
Wow, what a way to start off. It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here. It just keeps on delivering.
There you go, there you go. Heart is pumping right now.
3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Look at this, everybody. We've got a live kill.
The cock's holding the tail. It's holding tight. Lucky wildebeest.
There's nowhere to go. This are disaster in the making.
Something that I have never seen before in my entire life that you are now watching live.
My heart is in my mouth, everybody.
Look at this. It's gonna make it. It's going, it's going.
This is just too magical. Hi, little guys. That's great, isn't it? Look at that. Scuba Steve has got a friend.
You've got a friend in me.
It couldn't be a better morning. This is just too special.
Oh my goodness, we've got a turtle.
How epic is the fact that we're coming to you live from the Chobe River?
It's the most incredible feeling to be here. This is live, and we're in Rwanda. This is a very, very different adventure, charged with emotion.
I did not think I would ever face my fears like this.
Welcome back to and beyond Pindar Private Game Reserve. These lions have still been just sitting here, keeping still, but they've been grooming themselves a little bit, cleaning off the little bits of blood that was left from that warthog. But the one is just heading off now. I wouldn't be surprised if he's maybe just gone off to go to the toilet. Got really good manners, so he's just going possibly behind that bush now. Look at him sniffing that bush. He's in the territory of where his father would be. There's actually two dominant males in this area that are the dominant coalition, so I wouldn't be surprised. That's quite a prominent little bush there. So as one of the male lions or any predator that's walked past you that is territorial, they would have scent marked up against that. So he might have just been picking up on a little bit of a scent, but look at him going off there. He might have also just smelled something and gone to just figure out what it is. There we go, going back to that same bush that he was smelling earlier. Just doing a little bit of a walkabout. It's quite amazing, as these lions have progressed and got a little bit older, they've got a lot more confidence now. In the first few months of their lives, they don't really go too far away from mom unless she's hunting. Then she'll of course leave them in a hidden area, and that's why those spots come into play. Those spots that we were talking about earlier that are all on their underbody still. The spots on the top of their body have slightly faded now. It's quite hard with this light to see them, but those spots really help with the camouflage when mom goes and hunts, and often leaves them for a couple of hours while she's busy. You can see now he's returning to mom. Mom's just behind this bush here. Quite tough to see, but he just had a little squiz at what's going on behind that bush, and now he's coming back. Possibly will rub up against mom and try and wake up and say he's a little bit hungry. No, she's not interested. So now he's returning back to his brothers that are just keeping an eye on him. It's quite beautiful, that pose that they're sitting up. Oh, look at that. Nice little cuddle. But you can tell that they're quite keen to get moving. They're not really interested in lying around anymore. This one that's slightly closer to us is still grooming. Licking his paws. Earlier he was biting off little blackjacks, which are little seeds from plants that stick to their fur, which obviously irritates them if it gets in between their toes. Yeah, nice big yawn. Really, really serious look on their face at the moment, unlike what we saw earlier when they're interacting with those hippos and rhinos. I don't know if you've ever felt, if you have a cat at home and you feel that tongue is really, really, really rough. If you can imagine that, but about 10 times more intense, these lions have really long hairs on their tongue called papilla, which are really useful in licking and grooming and cleaning. If they get an injury, if they get a puncture, they will lick that wound completely clean and keep on licking it until it's healed over. It's almost like a comb. If you take like a steel brush or something, it feels quite similar to that. They're often even, like we saw earlier with that small warthog, lick up the blood, and it all sticks to that tongue. That line just to the left is just focused on those. There's some more rhino that have just come down to drink at that same waterhole right by, and yeah, he's just focused there, not showing really any intent, but just keeping his focus on. But I hear Dan has got some interesting line action going on, so yeah, enjoy that.
Yeah, FM, keep coming west from the last position. Welcome back, everybody. And so the rest of the pride has just kind of settled down at the back. I mean, a lot of the youngsters that weren't really involved in that hunt were at the back initially. And one or two of the older lionesses have come to join up with them again. They seem to be very relaxed, particularly from that action pack that we just witnessed. I'm sure these younger ones were waiting on the backs, just watching, really hoping that one of the older lionesses caught something. Because although they did eat something this morning, didn't fool many of them up. I think with the presence of those two males that were there this morning, they probably would have taken most of the carcass. Look at the eyes reflection. There's one lying in between these two that are sitting up. It's almost like he's winking at us. That young white male. And the one in the back is just watching. Wonder if he's working on his wink. Communicating with all of us. Callan, when did they last have a successful hunt? This morning, in fact. When we found them this morning, they were busy feeding on the remains of a wildebeest carcass, but because there's so many of them, they will eat it very, very, very quickly. There was just one leg bone left this morning. So I'm sure this evening, particularly with the presence of all this game around, the wildebeest, the impalas, the zebras, that they will try and hunt again. Although it's not easy. It's really tricky being a predator archer. It's not easy to catch anything. Have a look at all those flies on the front of this lioness's face. That looks hell of uncomfortable. And look at her blinking to try and keep them out of her eye. I wonder if that's not what that younger one was doing. Or should we just stick with the fact that it was trying to link with us? I mean, wink at us. Look underneath her chin. I wonder if she hasn't just gone and had a drink of water somewhere. It looks like it's quite wet and all those hairs are kind of sticking down. There is some zebras calling. But yeah, I mean, from hero to zero very quickly in terms of excitement with these lions. They were all up and running around and chasing, and now they're down, but listening. Hey, look at how all those ears are pointing, and particularly when those zebras were calling, I don't know if you heard them, behind us. All their ears kind of poked towards there, just watching and listening, trying to see if maybe one of the older lionesses who was on the hunt isn't getting close to those zebra again and might need a bit of backup. You'll see if that zebra or wildebeest or even an impala starts to like distress call as if it's been caught. These lions will all be up in a flash and they'll be there to try and help bring it down, particularly the younger ones. A real good time for them to learn, particularly while mom's got a good grip on the back of an animal. The younger ones may try and jump on, and although in the first few years of their lives they might be a little bit useless, but even that extra weight is important to bringing something down. And great skills to develop and learn, particularly when you're watching mom and watch how she jumps from the back, and if they do go to maybe the front, maybe try and put their mouth over the animal's nose to try and suffocate it, or around the throat, or sometimes they'll even just eat it alive. Particularly bigger, stronger animals like buffalo, where the front end of the buffalo is the dangerous part where you really don't want to be. The horns, they'll often try and just eat it alive without risking an injury by hanging around the head or the face too much. So I'm going to spend a bit more time. It looks like these lions are actually taking it very easy from here. I might try and see if we can't find any more nocturnal animals this evening and leave them to be. I'm going to send you to Carl in his watering hole.
Spooky lions. We were sitting here about half an hour ago, and we had a lioness at this very waterhole, and myself and Owen took a careful look at her mammary glands, and she was lactating. So we followed her, and unfortunately this mountain, as beautiful as it is a major obstruction. We located her and her 3 brand new little cubbies, around about 3.5, 4 months old, not brand new, but still very exciting to track that female from here and actually find her and her 3 new little additions. But we've come back to this beautiful and almost very like peace, it's like serenity at the moment. A little watering hole, just in case any other lions want to pop in for a drink. Bubbling casinos calling out, displacing other males, trying to attract mates. No ring-neck dove there, Owen's on us, on it for us. So they go down to the watering hole for a little drink. It's quite thick for that dove, I don't know what it's doing there. Obviously they have a remarkable ability by actually pumping, like a sucking action. Most birds will have to scoop water, throw their head back to actually swallow, but doves can put their face straight in and actually suck up water continuously. It's quite a remarkable adaptation. It's sun nearly on the horizon. Oh, the sound! That sound in the background is made by amphibian. And specific species would be a bubbling casino. And these are males trying to attract the opposite sex. So if you look at frogs and their calls and how they produce them is quite remarkable. And obviously vocalization is a very efficient way on how you can make your status known within an area. The females can also select which individual sounds best, so that she makes the right selection when it comes to finding the right mate. But a very beautiful and very tranquil sound right now here at Swallow. Obviously with the temperature and the rain, this is when these organisms are very active. They are very inactive through the winter periods. So we don't hear them, we don't see them. They bury themselves underground in almost like a little cocoon of foam and moisture. And they survive that very harsh period until the favorable times, like now, where they'll be actively calling and reproducing. Well, as you can see, we're looking at a steenbok in infrared, which is not really why we stopped, is because of the steenbok only, but it was because there was actually a little tiny baby steenbok that was suckling from its mother. And it's something you don't see a lot of. Baby steenbok generally are quite shy. They typically hide very, very well. They're not ones that want to be seen easily because of how vulnerable they can be. You can just make it out walking in the back there. I don't know if you can just see its little head. And it's very difficult. You can maybe just see the eye glowing in the back area, but a tiny little thing that fits underneath its mum. That's how small it is. And so anybody that's ever seen a steenbok and knows how big they are will know just how little that is. It's almost like the size of a scrub hare. It's walking around in the background. Like I said, it was cool when it was suckling up against mom because you could really get a sense of scale. But once again, this is the thing about being out at night and using infrared, is that these animals that are so much shyer during the day are far more relaxed at night. They reason being, as I explained last night to the diker, is that they don't want to bolt like they do in the day, because at night they can't see as well, and so bolting can lead to death. If they run off into these thickets, so it's better for them just to stand still and basically pretend like they're a little statue, so that you don't kind of see them
and you just move past them. But they're going to disappear into the darkness. That is, there you can just see eyes glowing. It's a little bit eerie, so I think we'll leave them to themselves. We won't disturb them any further, and we'll carry on. Unfortunately, no luck with Tundi's little one. We went back past that area, but we didn't find any sign of him. All right, well, while we leave these two to themselves, let's send you across to Trishala, who's found something that's very adept at moving around at night.
We've managed to find one of those nighttime critters, a pearl-spotted owlet. There's actually two of them in the tree, but this one's the closest one. And I've seen these two around camp whenever we do our checks. So I came around here, and they're actually further on quarantine. I'm so glad we found them. Can you hear it calling? That's not the distinctive call you're used to, but maybe if we sit with them, they will do the call for us. So sweet, this. Still the one in the back we can have a look at. These guys are tiny, about 75 grams or so. On the first big marula, when you leave camp, you can see those distinctive false eyes in the back. That's a really good way to ID them. Look at that. Barred owlet, which is the other owlet we get here, doesn't have those distinctive spots. Apart from the fact that they look quite different, but that's a really easy and obvious way to tell them apart. If we're patient, they might do their amazing call for us. JP, you'd like to know if all owls have the two spots in the back of the head. Those are called false eyes? No, they don't, which is why it's a really easy way to identify the pearl-spotted owlet. And you can see it really does look like false eyes when they turn their heads around like that. But all owls can turn their head at about 240 to 270 degrees around. And that's because the joint on their neck only moves latitudinally, so only across horizontally, so they can spin it almost all the way around. Unlike us, our hinge goes up and down and side to side. Ryan, did you say what a fantastic find? They really are. They're so precious. So many cool things we see around camp, and it's important to remember them. So when we go out, maybe we'll see them too. Well, Pete has a whole lot going on at the watering hole, so let's go over and see.
Welcome back to and beyond Punda Private Game Reserve, everyone. It's a beautiful, beautiful evening here, and while we were just sitting with these lions, we heard all this rustle and kind of noise in the grass, and then a bit of a splash, and we looked to our left, and there were all these buffalo. A really, really big herd, maybe close to 100 buffalo, and they've all surrounded this hippo, these two hippos. I don't know if you can see them. These hippos have slowly got up. The one's just shown his teeth. Really, just look how these buffalo have just been freaked out by what he's just done. That intimidation factor has really worked this time, but it's really, really such an amazing sight. To have them all here. I think these hippos are probably a little bit sick and tired of all this attention that they've had today. They've had lions, rhino, and now buffalo. So I'm sure any moment now they might get up and start heading out into their feeding paths. But it is quite windy here. I'm not too sure if you can hear that. These buffalo are busy sucking on the water. It's literally, they're just taking the skim or the top of the water. It makes like a slurping sound, but they're just rushing down now that these hippos have relaxed a bit. They're just rushing back down towards the water. Buffalo are incredibly water dependent. If there's water availability, then they'll come and drink at least twice a day. I don't know if you can see that one hippo is resting his head right against the bank now, kind of keeping his distance almost as far away from the buffalo as possible, but still in the water. It's amazing to think that two hippos can scare close to 100 buffalo. Look at this one now, slowly exiting the water. As he gets a little bit of pressure from the buffalo. Look at them creeping slowly and slowly across. There's his teeth again. What an incredible sighting. Some of these buffalo to our right haven't taken their eyes off us. They just focus right on us. Look how amazing this interaction is here. This one buffalo, it looks like, I can't see quite so clearly, but it looks to me like a young bull. His horns just look that shape. But he seems to be the one that's enticing these hippos a little bit. He's being a little bit cheeky. Look how he's lifting his head. Now he's back down a little bit as more and more buffalo join this waterhole. It's amazing to me to think how this little waterhole brings so much life and so much attraction from all over. I'm sure these buffalo would have gone out during the day, gone and found nice grazing areas, and then returned to this waterhole. They probably would have drunk here this morning and last night as well. Hippo slowly opening his mouth again. Oh, nice big yawn. Showing his teeth, but he's still got his back to them. There we go. Look at all. Oh, listen to that. As the hippo gets out the water. Absolute chaos. These buffalo have almost lined up like they're ready to do the haka or something. Flask, yeah, they don't seem too happy with what's going on. Thanks for your comment. They seem to be a little bit disturbed, and I'm sure, yeah, like I said, any moment now they'll probably get out the water and out of these buffalo's way. It's just easier for everyone. It's nice and cool now, so they're not going to be too affected by the sun, and it's about the right time for them to go and feed. Drinking a little bit of water. really awesome. They've formed the straight line, these buffalo have, right around us. Yeah, it's quite an amazing sighting. It's a little bit intimidating. But I'm sure the rest of them will come down and drink as soon as these hippos have moved on. And then probably go out and spend the night in quite a nice open area with a good visibility.
Well, welcome to a very tranquil and beautiful scene here at Tswalu. We'd just like to share this with you. How lovely is it that we can share these very special Kalahari sunsets with you. And sunsets this side are by far some of the most breathtaking you'll see.
Welcome back to and Beyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. We're still here at this waterhole. Glenn and I are just admiring this absolute beautiful scenery and the situation that's going on right now. Since that hippo stood up again, the buffalo have been a little bit wary of returning to the waterhole. They definitely are still thirsty. I think they're just a little bit wary of the possible dangers of the hippo. That one hippopotamus is still just lying flat, while the other one seems to be nudging his partner on, trying to say, let's get moving. Listen to the stampede now. There's a bit of chaos here on the right. Maybe one of them had picked up the scent of the lions, which are quite a distance away just behind us. If you look to our right, there's actually a white rhino as well, which may have also caused them to get a bit of a fright. You can imagine most of these diurnal animals don't have the best eyesight at night time, although their eyesight isn't too bad. I read something that said that buffalo eyesight at night is almost the same as our eyesight, so it obviously adjusts slowly with time. So you can imagine we're struggling to see them right now, so it's probably a little bit hazy for them, even if there's a rhino quite close to them. They've given him quite a bit of distance, but they seem to slowly be moving back towards the waterhole. Infinity Cape, that's a really good question. So they would probably refrain from hunting a rhino unless it was necessary and the only prey in the area. It also depends on the pride size. So obviously a rhino has a really dangerous horn that can do some damage, but if the pride was big enough, they could definitely take down a fully grown rhino. A bull would take a lot more effort. I haven't heard of it myself, but I'm sure with kind of a bit of effort and a lot of time, and they'll slowly nip away at them. They're quite a bit faster than a rhino, so they'll be able to keep up with them. There's a pride of lions in Botswana that actually hunt elephants, not fully grown elephants, but yeah, so if that pride had to come across a rhino, I'm sure they would also try their luck there. Yeah, hippos seem to be moving. Look at them showing their teeth again. There was a question about the teeth earlier, and now you can see that incredible size of those teeth. Really, really amazing. And they don't use those, like I said earlier, for anything except defense. And like we've witnessed tonight, it's very, very effective and incredibly intimidating for other animals around. There we go. It seems like they're slowly making their way to the edge of the waterhole now. They seem to not be able to make up their mind as to what they want to do. Might be because it's still a little bit of light around, and also they feel a little bit more vulnerable when they're outside of the water, so they probably will wait a little while until these buffalo are gone and then make the exit, unless they're feeling really brave. Yeah, there we go. They're moving back towards the buffalo. The buffalo seem to be going all the way around the waterhole now, making it very difficult for these hippos to exit. Look at them, they're getting really close to those buffalo now. Really close. Seems like he's sniffing the water there. Can't really see it too well. Really, really interesting sighting that's going on here. There's still a few buffalo to our right that haven't even attempted to get near the water yet. But these hippos are struggling to find an area to leave this, or parts of this waterhole to leave, or to exit from. What an insane scene we have here. You can see as the hippos are moving to the right, the buffalo are kind of moving to the left as well. So I'm sure these buffalo are probably going to carry on moving towards the waterhole, and as these hippos leave, they'll also all surround the waterhole. But thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been a wonderful, wonderful day, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it. We'll see you tomorrow.
Live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
What a perfect way to start our day. You can see the sun is coming up over the African bush.